This isn't going to be a rant as much as it is going to be a fact-finding mission here. We are living in a generation now, thanks to the single mother bastard baby maker epidemic, of males who are devoid of manhood, and the manner in which that manifests itself the most and the worst is the epidemic of complaining and whining. Let me explain what I mean, because complaining and whining isn't simply, well, there's something that you don't like. What I'm saying is when it turns into non-stop, never ending, even when you have removed any and all objections that they've stated, even when that goes away, they are still complaining. That is a general manner of shiftlessness. That is a general indicator of uselessness. And that is one thing in particular I want to address here tonight, because there's a few things that have come up. There are a few things that have come up here. And you know what? I was going to take this in a different direction, but let me go ahead and just take this in the direction I really want to take things in here right quick. And I know I'm hitting it hot right now, but if you'll all remember, I posted a video here last night. And as you know, we have a meetup event coming up here on the 14th. And you've been hearing an endless chorus of whining and complaining from the rather useless out there about how it is that, we don't have young females who are in shape, who are feminine. They know how to cook and clean and take care of a man in the house and home. Let me tell y'all right now, I've got almost a dozen of them under the age of 30, in their 20s, single, no kids, cook, clean. A few of them in particular have sent me videos since I told them that gets them higher up the ladder in our rating for it. And they've been showing up and showing out. One young lady in particular, she didn't just talk to stir fry like Migos. She got down with it and showed how it's done. Leaves nothing to the imagination. And that's the kind of thing that you need to see there. That's the kind of thing that you need to see. That's the kind of thing that we want to have. You want to have that because going forward, what that does is it removes the guesswork. It removes the guesswork. It removes the guesstimation. It removes the complaining, or at least it should remove the complaining. And that was my whole issue with it was, well, it should remove the complaining. It should, but it doesn't. That's the issue. It should remove the complaining, but it actually doesn't. It doesn't actually remove the complaining. And that was the thing that I had an issue with. I had an issue with that because even though I gave undeniable, incontrovertible evidence, and just to be clear, this is just one among several that I've received. Do you know that there were a few, more than there should be, but there were a few from the lame corner of society who are talking about, so she's young and childless and can cook, so what? That doesn't mean anything. Now, it's at that point right there. When you hear that statement right there, understand whoever you're talking to, whatever their objection or their problem is, what they just said, that's not it. That's not their real problem. Their real problem is something else. It's something else. It's not what they're claiming it is. Their real problem is something else. It's something else. And that's important to keep in mind. It's important to keep that in mind because you cannot have a sensible, intelligent discussion about things if you don't know what it is that you're having a discussion about. That's the problem. You can't have an intelligent discussion about things if you don't know what it is that you're having the discussion about. And when it comes into a situation like this where there's so much on the line and there's so much important, because this is about changing the world, changing it from what it has been. So I take those kind of things very, very seriously when I see that. I take it very, very seriously. Now, for the most part here, I will just say, for the most part, everybody was sensible. And I do believe that most of the fellas out here are sensible, or at least they can. That's important. But every once in a while, you'll have one nincompoop stepping up in there. I mean, everything that, first of all, he comes with the correct avatar. That's the first thing. At least this guy came with an avatar that is truth in advertising. I'll at least give him that much. His avatar is truth in advertising. Because he is a clown. I mean, everything that glitter ain't gold. 25 means she in the open market 6 years and ain't nobody scooped her up yet. Something sus, as my son says. First of all, you got a son, and yet you're talking like a buffoon. You don't know anything about her. She's only 25 years old. The average 25-year-old male is like this guy. Not ready for anything. Not ready for anything. That tells you what you need to know. And talking about his son is probably as useless and shiftless as he is. That tells you a lot right there. That tells you a lot right there. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. When you have an indecisive, shiftless mass of malehood, I can't even call it manhood. That's the kind of thing you want to keep track of. That's the kind of thing you want to watch out for. Most of the comments, as I say, most of the comments and everything were pretty much sensible. Here's another wingnut. Just because she's single don't mean she ain't getting sex. Too good, T.O. good to be trusted. So this literary scholar wanted to weigh in. This literary scholar wanted to weigh in. So of course we should take his word for events. Of course we should. Of course we should. Yes, this sterling brain trust. Now, this will be one of the clowns who will tell you go overseas. By the way, when was the last time you saw any of the passport bros sitting there showing their female cooking something you would want to eat? Well, when's the last time you saw them cooking anything? I got videos of them taking girls to restaurants. Shout out Austin. But they don't show their chicks sitting up in there cooking and doing domestic duty. They don't show them in there doing any of that. They show them walking down the street with them, and that's it. Walking to a restaurant, walking through a neighborhood. Ain't no money getting spent. She's not getting upgraded. He's just sitting there hanging out. You never see the chick again, which means you paid for as much of her time as you could afford. What you're not doing is upgrading. Oh, look, another scholar. The question is, how many times she will cook is the issue. Now, this is what happens when you've done a few years in the joint, or your mama was in and out the joint, or dudes was in and out your mom. And you grow into an adult. I'm not going to say a grown man. You grow into an adult, and when you're faced with incontrovertible proof that you cannot dispute, you don't give up your former fallacious, disproven position. You start to double down. Now you just start saying crazy stuff. Now you don't stop talking. You just start asking more questions. Questions that aren't actually relevant, but because you don't have a point anymore, you just start asking what ifs. What if? Well, what if? It could be. But you know. The question is, How many times she will cook is the issue. Will she take your kids and put you on child support and you will have to spend thousands fighting in court? This is a guy who is angry with his mom. This fella right here is angry with his mother. And I'm not here to say whether or not his mom was a good person or bad. I'm just saying this is I hate my mom talk. This is me and my mama. I don't trust my mom. She never fed us. She kept us from our dad. So I'm projecting this onto every other female because you can't say this. You can't say that in this circumstance. You don't know anything. But he's just, my mama was bad. My mama wouldn't have did that. Yeah, I mean, but everybody's not your mom, you freaking loser. Everyone's not your mammy. Will she divorce you for no reason but to take half of your things because you're, Y-O-U-R, boring? No question mark at the end of that. Now, do you all see? This is what happens when whiny little mama's boys. Remember what I said? It's not about, is there something you don't agree with? It is about non-stop complaining about something that nobody mentioned. He said, will she divorce you? Negro, you just watched her making a wok of deep fried rice. Divorce you? This black pill incel bastard is talking about divorce. You don't even know her name. And he has already streaked straight past dating to, well, when she divorced me, dude, you haven't even met her. You don't know her name. Are you off your meds? Is she gonna divorce me? Dude, she hasn't even said hello to you. She doesn't know you exist. She doesn't know you exist. But take a look at him. He's already projecting. And do you all know what that really tells you? He's projecting because he understands that women don't trust him. You see, what he's doing is communicating to you the response he usually gets. Women don't trust him. And furthermore, with this complete and utter lack of masculinity and leadership, why should they? So he's already repeating all the issues that females don't like him. In the chat room, Justin, you right. She gonna take half his bus pass. She gonna take half of his subway pass. She's going to take half of his 3-year-old Nikes. She's going to be walking down the street with one Air Force One. She's going to take half of his comic book collection, half of his manga collection. Nate and Things. She's going to take half of the and Things. Can y'all imagine that? The biggest question is, will she be submissive? Dude, you came out of the gate whining. You came out of the gate whining and moaning and complaining about what you want women to do for you. This chick has already sat up here and come out the gate with it. She's already come out the gate with it. And this is what you're met with. So I'm doing this tonight because I want the fellas to understand. I want the fellas to understand what a lot of the females out here see so we can stop acting like this is the other half of the equation that doesn't make it. You said he deleted his message? I see you in the chat. I see you in the comments. Nether Speaks. Let me go ahead and make a screen capture of it. You say he deleted his message? I'll show you my response to it. My response to it was no. The biggest question is, are you a competent male that women trust to lead? Thus, submission follows. Or are you a chronic complainer who asks pointless questions, hoping quizzing females will disguise your total lack of ability to lead? That's the real question. So, I don't know if If he deleted it, well, that'll be an issue for him. If he deleted that. If he deleted it, that'll be a problem for him. That'll be a problem for him. But that's the kind of thing I wanted right there. Like they won't stand by their comments in the light of day. They won't stand by their comments, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. That's the kind of thing I want you to keep in mind. I want you to keep that in mind. These are the kind of things that the women have to deal with on a regular basis. I did all this because I want you to see what we're looking at now. And as men going forward, these are the guys who would claim to speak for us, who would claim that they understand. These are the guys who, if we allow them to, they are going to be sitting in the middle of us, clogging up the real estate. And where does it lead? I'll tell you where it leads here in a moment. But before I do, if you all agree with what I'm saying here tonight, that we have an overabundance, we have an overabundance of whiny males. That's the kind of thing I want you to know. If you agree with that, give me the thumbs up in the super chat, in the chat room, and hit the likes button for me. It's over 1,500 people in here tonight, and this really shouldn't be a point of conjecture to argue with. Fellas, this is what was missing and what is missing from all of your previous, your online gurus. This is the element that was missing. You see, as men, we got to talk to each other as men. And when the mama's boys show up, who try to lower the bar, understand something. If he's not performing for his mother, for the females in society, there's no way in the hell when your back is against the wall, he's going to perform for us. No way in the world. And if the likes don't get a little bit higher, I'm going to cut things off a little bit early tonight because this is Mama's Boy Friday, I guess. And that'll be cool. That'll be all right. But if you like the program and if you like the fact that we're saying, hey, I know some of y'all from that red pill pervert community, you all have been sitting up here listening to the internet's failures for so long that when you hear men get together, to you think the men are supposed to be the sissified mirror image of the females, that the men are supposed to be sitting around complaining about what the women aren't doing. No. You see, if you want to change the world and change society, you first look at yourself. You can't change women. Women don't care what men have to say. Women care what men have to do. Women care what men have to do. They don't care what men have to say. Now, if you all want to know whether or not this is hitting major buttons, if you want to know whether or not we're making progress on this, look no further. None other than CBS Morning Show. And lo and be damn whole, they would have Gail King, Oprah Winfrey's BFFGFF. They did a little news piece here. It's 7 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I posted this on the community page. And if you haven't seen this, this is really profound to see here. It really, really is.
But we're going to begin this hour with a not-so-bravo topic. We're talking about jobs and a major hiring crisis. It's a problem, really, bigger and older than the Great Resignation you've heard so much about. It's a problem you're not going to find in the unemployment rate, which is, of course, at near record lows. And it's because a large number of American men in particular, men in their prime working years, are actually not working, and they're not even looking for work. The result is a bit of a mystery and also a major hole in the American economy.
Now, let me start with this next part before I say anything. Males who are not working and not looking for work. Let me be very, very clear. That doesn't have a thing to do with women. You are not pulling your share. You're not pulling your weight. You are of no use to the men. You're of no use to other men. Hell, you ain't no use to yourself. You are no use to the men. If you're a male out here, you eating and you ain't working, you're no use to the rest of us. So this has nothing to do with females, getting chicks, upgrading anybody. This is solely focused on you as a male. Now, yes, I do understand Mike Rowe. He's in and out of Fox News, and I get that. He's one of their lightweight right-wing dudes, and I understand that, but there is one point he was making.
My name's Mike Rowe, and this is my job.
Of all the jobs he's done over the past 20 years.
Now get ready to get dirty.
And Mike Rowe has done them all as the host of Dirty Jobs.
Now, let me be very, very clear. That's where I come from. If you want to know how it is that I've learned as much as I have and whatnot, I didn't sit in front of a television with an Xbox console watching documentaries. I've been there and I've done that. I've been there and I've done that. Half the dirty jobs Mike talks about, I've been there and done that too. So you see, I know what it's like to come from the bottom. I know what it's like to get your hands dirty on a regular basis. I still do it now. I still do it now. Today. And that's what builds manhood. The women keep their nails clean. The men jump down into it because you see, if there's dirty business that's got to be done, the man can't wait. You see, when a mouse or a rodent enters the room, the women jump up on the chairs and start running around. The men are supposed to immediately spring into action. And I'll be damned in the mama's boys generation. And yes, you single moms are the culprits who created this, but we got to talk about the solutions. But let us never forget who created this problem. The men are supposed to spring into action. The males are supposed to spring into action. You see, that is what gives you your masculine authority. Is that when danger rears its head, you move into position first. The women and the children are behind you. Got a generation of grown-ass males, they watch the women pump the gas. And then you have a bunch of dumb, stupid broads actually doing it. That's the crazy part. If I see another chick getting down on her knee to propose, fellas, if a chick gets down on her knee to propose to you, you boot that. And anyway, in any case, when something is dirty, and that's when we deal with cars, women understand, oh, hell, it's dirty under the hood of this car. Yeah, because you see, when you drive around in the snow and in the rain and in the dust and in the high humidity, all that stuff actually collects up under the hood of your car. In reality, your engine is constantly evaporating oils and water and things, and dirt gets on there and gets stuck. So you see, the men got to go in the position we're replacing alternators, air filters, radiators, cooling fans. The men are supposed to take care of that. That's what makes us useful. Riding mowers, shoveling, cleaning the gutters. That's what makes us useful, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be the show horses. We're supposed to be the work horses. And now we have established our territory. That's what men do. Now you have established your territory and justified your authority in the home. It's not about you sitting on your ass as a grown man complaining to a chick. Your accomplishments are supposed to be self-evident. Let me say this a different way. Fellas, the first place where you upgrade a female is in usefulness. You show her that you are useful. Your economic accomplishment shows her that you're in charge, but your usefulness gives you your authority. That while she's sitting there looking at things cross-eyed, you first in the position. Mice and rats, if one show up, you on the job. If he gets away, you know how to make sure he's getting handled if he ever comes back. Those are the things we're talking about. Those are the things we're talking about. Pipes get clogged. You take care of that. Vacuum cleaners get clogged. You disassemble. Let me get a show of hands right now. How many grown men in here you have disassembled and reassembled a vacuum cleaner in the last 24 months? The females, when that thing gets clogged up and starts not moving, she wants to go buy a brand new vacuum cleaner. Fellas, how many of you have disassembled and reassembled one? And got it back running again, spick and span? That's manhood. That's manhood. That's masculinity. You damn right. I'm taking out time to disassemble this thing, take it apart, check the belts, check the brushes, make sure it's in place, remove the filters, clean up all the internal parts, reassemble it back to life. Back to life. Fellas, I've spent the last couple of weeks letting you know because the mama's boy generation is always looking for excuses to avoid manhood. So they went out to the internet and found a group of feckless cheerleaders who would reinforce and repeat whatever it was that kept them docile. I'm sitting up here telling you, you know what? You can upgrade a woman and having money certainly helps, but that's not the only way in which you upgrade somebody. That's not the only way in which you do it. Many other ways to do that. Many other ways. So yes, I understand what it's like to do every dirty job you can imagine. And when a man shows that, understand something, people, not women, people can see when you as a man are looking at rodents at the house, something dirty in the house, something wrong with the car. Everybody can see when you standing there looking like the women do. They can see when you're just standing there staring and you are helpless. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down tonight? If you are, give me the fire emoji in the chat room. The mama's boys don't understand. Everybody can see when you looking helpless. They can see when you looking at the car and the brakes are squealing and you don't know what to do. They can see when you're looking at a flat tire and you don't know what to do. They can see when the oil lights come on and you don't know what to do. They can see when you pulled up to the checkout register and you got no money. You don't know what to do. You mama's boys, that's the reason why you've retreated to the internet, because you've been defeated in the real world. And you think that if I cobble together with other individuals, we can comfort each other. Here's the problem with that mentality. Social media on every platform, from YouTube to Facebook to Google to Twitter, has created algorithms to bring like-minded people together. Here's the problem. Like-minded people can also be like-minded losers. It can bring a great, big, huge throng of losers together too, male and female. And you never met a loser male who built a better man. So as men, this is a rite of passage. Your manhood training. Listen to me, for the males and especially you single mamas, you chicks who created chaos and destruction with every footfall. Your son cannot complete his manhood training until he has gotten shoulder deep. He's reached down in the muck and the oil and the mud and the filth up to his shoulder. And it's cold and it's slimy, or it's warm and it's greasy. Your son has not completed his manhood training until he has done that. He cannot call himself a man until he has done that. You see, women, I'm explaining it to you exactly the damn way it is. You see, women sit in the kitchen and slice up the fishes. That's cute and everything. Women sit in the kitchen and slice up the beef tips. That's cool. The men supposed to slaughter them. The men are supposed to catch the fish. I'm from Louisiana. The men are supposed to grab the deer and with the crossbows. The men are supposed to be able to do that without hesitation. The women can do the nice work once we bring home this big slab of beef. All right, here you go. The men are supposed to do that, but when you got a mama's boy who doesn't even mop floors, he doesn't want to get any dirt under his manicured nails. He can't even mop floors. You think he's going to bring home the bacon? He's scared of pork. He's scared to slaughter a pig, and you talking about bringing home the bacon. He's looking at you like, well, hell, ain't you got a job? Ain't you got a job? Been there, done that, seen it. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. There's this black woman, I think, in Philadelphia. She owns a company, and she's talking about how it's hard for her to get workers. Now, they said workers, but of course they're going to make this about men because beating up on men is easy for them. But there is a lesson to be learned in here.
I mean, Beyonce's song, she said, release your job. A lot of people release their jobs. They don't, and they realize, I mean, it's an overall feeling of being fed up and being taken for granted.
Okay, one more thing right here. Listening to Beyonce, by the way, she getting ready to go on tour so she can spread more disinformation. Why haven't they banned that from Facebook and Twitter? But in any case, she said, Beyonce said, release your job. Beyonce also said, me, myself, and I. Beyonce also said, bugaboo. Beyonce also said a whole bunch of things till she got married. All my single ladies. Yeah, Beyonce say a whole lot of stuff that puts her fans in a bind, but she doesn't have to live with the consequences herself. Release your job. Beyonce doesn't have a job, nor is Beyonce a woman dating or married to a man with a job. So she's not a woman who has to deal with a man who decided to take Beyonce up on her advice. So she has no problem making anthems that complicate your life. She's not depending on a man who has a job, nor is she with a man who is saying, hey, nor is she a woman dealing with a man who released his job. Just thought we'd throw that out there.
But there's more. According to one economist, some non-working men face a skills mismatch. A third have criminal records, making them ineligible for many jobs and making employers hesitant to hire them. And many rely on safety nets, such as disability. So you may wonder, what are these guys doing instead of work? Well, kind of what you might expect. Spending nearly 7 hours each weekday on average relaxing, playing games, and watching TV. So how...
Now, one thing I want to make sure there that you see, they cited their source, the Bureau of Labor Statistics of 2021. The Bureau of Labor Statistics 2021. Now, you all know what's going on here. Between the ages of 25 and 54, they laying up with their mamas, they laying up with a girlfriend. And what I'm saying is that once you reach the age of 30 and your manhood training has never been completed, you are lost. You're lost. How are we going to take a 30-year-old and start injecting manhood training? He's going to have to just go to boot camp. Your mama sat up here, screwed you over. You probably went along with it because, yeah, let me just sit back here and play video games and loaf out. Now you in the real world. Now you're mad at your mama and everybody else because the world flipped on you in one day. And you're like, well, 1 minute they all tell me I can sit here and play on the Xbox. The next minute they all telling me, get your ass up and get to work. Now you feel betrayed. But we all know what's going on there.
them. And many rely hours each weekday on average relaxing, playing games, and watching TV.
So how is it, from where you're sitting, from your understanding, that people can do nothing all day and still have enough money for a bag of chips?
Oh, well, it's almost as though some entity is paying them. It's almost as if somebody is not letting them fail. It's as if some giant parent somewhere has...
An uncle, maybe?
Could be a rich uncle, yes.
Or it's more likely some little dumb scummy chick who sat up here and said, well, as long as I got a piece of a male and he is easily emotionally dominated, because at any time he's here to sit up here and take my crap, and at any time that I get unhappy with him, I can turn his life upside down and leave him destitute. So he doesn't have to produce. He's here to emotionally cater to me. And don't get me wrong, she'll sit up here and tolerate that and accept that right up until she starts comparing herself to her other female friends. Then she's going to get angry. Then she's going to be taking a look at, well, I'll be damned. Resources going out, no resources coming in, no upgrading. I deserve better than this. And by the time she realizes that she played herself, it's already too late. It's already too late. The dumbest thing that a female can do is bring an easily dominated male into her presence. The smartest thing you can do is bring an indomitable male in your presence. He will demand the most of you, but more importantly, he will demand the most of himself and everything else around him. You want a man who is unbreakable. You go off and go grab some little whiny ass mama's boy. He Mr. Swagalicious. Well, don't worry. He won't be able to leave me. Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to do. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to cater to your swollen, mutated, corrupted, bloated ego. He's going to run the tables. And when it's over, you just sitting looking stupid. Because he can go find another chick to lay up with. You can't get those years back. We're going to go forward a little bit here because I want to go here when they got back in the studio.
Fascinating story.
7 million men, and they're watching 7 additional hours
I was
of
going to
TV
say that.
and relax.
Now, by the way, you hear him say 7 million men. You notice they're not bringing up the trans men talk. I mean, so men are people with XY chromosomes now. So all of a sudden, we're not bringing up trans men. All of a sudden, we're not bringing up pronouns. All of a sudden, oh, no. They're talking about testosterone. They're talking about men. Yeah. Not men, parentheses. Oh, men. Now it's time to bash men. Oh, we going in on men. Oh, they want to make sure, oh, this is squarely at the feet of you men. We don't want to bring the trans men into it, nothing like that. So now you can define what a man is. Now all of a sudden a man is what we always said it was. I'll be damned. Isn't that convenient? I thought we were still referring to the new men. I thought you couldn't really use that term because it doesn't mean anything. Now, all of a sudden, it's men's. No, we talking about the men's. All right, but I want you to hear how this exchange goes.
It's a fascinating story.
7 million men, and they're watching 7 additional hours
I was
of
going to
TV
say that.
and relaxing.
Yeah,
per
that
day.
figure got me.
It's wild.
Are the women in their lives or the partners in their lives working?
So this is where it gets a little bit political. People on the right will say these guys are just living off government largesse. They're getting disability, they're benefiting from aid, and that's got to be reformed. And people on the left say they just need to be trained up. And yeah, in the meantime, they're living at home or they're depending on partners.
You mentioned this skills mismatch, and it just made me think, my grandfather was a machinist, which is a highly skilled job. Not anybody, you have to be trained to do that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a lot of machinists now in 2023. And I wonder if people are being trained for that. And he mentions Mike.
So Mike Rowe has a foundation called Mike Rowe Works where he does give people scholarships for that kind of training. That's part of the issue. But like Carla Trotman, the woman in Philadelphia who runs the circuit board manufacturing facility, she'll train you herself. If you're in the Philadelphia area, they're looking for 15 people there. It pays well. It's a nice, clean, quiet place to work. So go there. By the way, some people think, oh, maybe these guys are doing more stay-at-home dadding. That's an optimistic point of view. I looked at the numbers. Shauna Thomas, our executive producer, brought this up. In fact, these guys who are not working and not looking for work are spending less time caring for other household members than the guys who are at work. So they're doing less child care, not even a little bit more.
Okay, so in other words, the manly men who are out here working, all the folk, they sit up here and tell you the women are better than. Oh, so now you admit what we've always said, which we've always been in our job. The women have never been at home taking care of the kids by themselves. It's never been that way. Never. Never. This is what we've always said. It was always like that. The men who take care of the women and the children, we've always been on the job. She's never been by herself. It's only the females out here saying, well, don't worry. If you ambitious, intelligent men won't bow down to my size 16 failure, then I'll just go get me a Build-A-Boo. And Build-A-Boo is nothing but a Bill-A-Boo is what it is. But listen to this last part here. Talk about the devil calling everybody else evil.
Dadding. That's an optimistic point of view. I looked at the numbers. Shauna Thomas, our executive producer, brought this up. In fact, these guys who are not working and not looking for work are spending less time caring for other household members than the guys who are at work. So they're doing less child care, not even a little bit more.
I don't know, but an able-bodied man who can work and doesn't, it's not attractive.
Let me back it up one more time so y'all can hear Gail King, after all these decades, attempt to lecture men's on what men supposed to be doing.
A little bit more.
I don't know, but an able-bodied man who can work and doesn't, it's not attractive. I'm just going to say, not attractive.
And on that note.
You hear those banshees in the back sitting up there cackling? By the way, first of all, Gail, who the hell are you? After all these decades of you and your girlfriend, one of the chief architects in media of creating this cesspool, who the hell are you? What men are sitting around trying to get Gail King's approval for anything? Who are the men who are looking to get Gail King's approval and to look good in her eyes? Well, everything was messed up, but Gail got a point. Who in the hell is looking at her as any sort of credible authority that they want to be in good standing with? And by the way, she didn't sit up here and say, well, we can't just talk about the men's now. We can't just talk about the men's. And by the way, folk, this is CBS, the Viacom Corporation. I'm pretty sure Viacom still owns it. Not Fox News. This is not Fox News. This is CBS. Talking about liberals and conservatives. This is CBS. People, the bulls are out the gates. The bulls are out of the gates. The bulls are out the gates. Virgo, yes, an unproductive man is unattractive, but what's Gail King standing to speak on men? That's the point. If you're slow on the uptake, what is her credentials? What is her standing to speak on men? After her multi-decade jihad against men, she's one of the toxic masculinity people. So you got what you asked for. She's one of the toxic masculinity people. So if a man says, I'm the head of household, Gail King calls that toxic masculinity. When the man sits back and says, well, you know what? I'll let you be the breadwinner. Oh, that's unattractive. So do you see the trick bag that her and the rest of her vicious feminist, ultra feminist Nazi kind do. On the one hand, they tell you that if you're a man who takes charge, you're bad. And if you're a man who lets the woman take charge, you're bad. So nothing you ever do is right. And I told you all about that years ago. If you want to know what the strategy actually is, the bottom line is to make the point, to teach the boys early and the men later, nothing you ever do is right. If I want you to pay the bills, you're right for right now. But in 30 minutes, you'll be wrong again. And now I'm back in charge. And if you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to let you be in charge. Oh, you're wrong again. If I need something, you're wrong again. You got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get up now. So I want you to understand what the real strategy actually is. The strategy is that nothing you do, this is her intention, that nothing you do is ever right. Nothing you do is ever correct. You're only correct when you respond the way that she wants you to respond in that moment. And the moment that you are done complying with what she just said, now you're back in a neutral position where you're probably wrong, but at best you're neutral and whatever you do next could be wrong. So just remember, the strategy is nothing you do is correct. Nothing you do is correct. Shout out to Jay in the super chat, by the way. He's trying to get right with God. Not that I'm saying I'm God. I'm just using the colloquialism. In any case, though, this is what we are left with here today. And I gotta tell you right now, fellas, there's nothing more pathetic than dudes sitting up here refusing to embrace or embody their masculinity, and masculinity comes up with answers, not endless ass questions. Let me tell you something else that is feminine as hell or unmasculine as hell coming from a male. When a male sits up and just asks endless questions, when he refuses to admit that he doesn't really have a point, he just starts asking endless questions. That's unmasculine as hell. It's also useless as hell. At what point are you leading? At what point are you in charge? At what point do you know how much is enough? And that brings me back to what I was saying here before. We got the young lady here. And by the way, if you hadn't seen the video that I posted last night, I was doing the most yesterday. But the young lady, she sent us in for our Valentine's Day meetup that we're doing here. I'll have more details on that later tonight. But she showed what she could do in the kitchen in real damn time. She sent a video just to show you, hey, she about that life. She about that life. And I just asked some question. If you'd like to meet the chef in this video, by the way, she's 25. She's single. No kids. And she gonna be joining us here on Valentine's Day. Dude, I can't make it any more clear for you. I can't make it any more plain to you. These fellas out here, folks been lying to you. They've been lying to you. I don't have any problem whatsoever being able to locate this kind of thing at a young age. The failed males that understand something. This costs a female. Let me be very, very clear to you. This costs a female. This ain't free. Let me be very, very clear. This ain't free. Fellas, if you have a genuinely feminine female who is about that life and on her job, this isn't free. This isn't free. To know the utensils and how to use them and make sure they ain't all messed up and whatnot, this ain't free. Just like you got to put in work to make sure you master your masculine credentials, and yes, you're supposed to have them, this isn't free. Especially in your early 20s, she's coming out the gate. ain't got a ton of road miles. Buddy, this isn't free. This isn't free. This is not free. That's the bottom line, is it's not free to do that. That costs. It costs her something to get that. So when you have males who are sitting up here and every time you turn around, we're like, okay, present your credentials so we can make sure she got hers. Where's yours? Everybody's on the same page. And this, well, I mean, I was thinking it over for a little bit right there. And I ain't so sure we gonna do. Well, what more she got? What more she do? We've already shown everything. Not built like Lizzo, under the age of 30. No kids, single. But if you're not ready, then when I present this and show this, you're going to do the most dangerous and the most revealing thing possible. You're just going to keep talking. And the whole reason for you to keep talking is you're trying to conceal something. What is it you're trying to conceal? You're trying to conceal that you ain't ready. Let me say this right now. Now, this is the other thing about the Assport bros. Now, by the way, y'all saw the video we put up of Austin and friends over there in Thailand. He had to flee Brazil. By the way, when he took old girl to that restaurant, did she have to pay half or did he pay for the whole thing? Was it 50-50 or did he pay for it? He's not married to her. Did he insist that she pay half? Did he insist on that, or did he pay the whole thing and just keep it pushing? Well, you already know. He took his 3 little pennies. He paid the whole thing and kept it pushing. So what I'm saying is, if them chicks over there are letting you know it costs, and she didn't cook nothing, she's letting you know it costs. And what I'm saying is that a lot of you fellas out here have made it very clear your mama issues are exposing themselves. And it's not cute. It is ugly. Especially in the presence of other men. This is outrageously gruesome, especially in the presence of other men. At no time did you sit up here and say, okay, that's a done deal? Because you see, when a female shows you something, you're supposed to be ready to come right back after that. You're supposed to be ready to follow up right after that. You're supposed to be right there on the spot, ready to follow up. And you're not. You're not. No, what happens ensues instead for too many of these fellas out here is more whining, more complaining. Let me just go ahead and say this just like it is. For a good number of you fellas, the only chick gonna do for you is your mama. I said it. For a good number of you fellas out here, the only chick you don't have a problem with is the very broad who made you into this broken, bastardized crackpot thing you are today. The only female you really good enough to go on a date with and be with is your mother. And that's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk. So when you get out here in the real world and you meet a female who ain't really looking to be your mama, she's looking to say, okay, I want you to build a household. I want you to build a household. I don't want you sitting up here trying to be a member of somebody else's. I'm looking for a man who's going to build his own. You mean the little whiny ass mama's boy who doesn't know how to change a flat tire, doesn't know how to unclog a pipe, doesn't know how to clean a vacuum? You mean you're looking at him to build something? You mean that little whiny bastard over there with no money in his pockets and Xbox controller in his hand? You're looking for him to build something? Good luck on that. Good luck on that. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. So I bring this up here tonight to make a point. That in this day and age, we are dealing with the complaining and whining as being the new manhood. Complaining and whining. And what are they complaining and whining about? They're complaining and whining about anyone, anywhere, for anything, having any expectations of them at all. That's what they're whining about. They're whining about that. And you see, governments like to encourage that kind of thing because dependent males do not act independently. Dependent males do whatever they're told. Dependent males are compliant males. Dependent males don't start revolutions. Dependent males don't start uprisings. Dependent males don't go against the grain. Dependent males don't fight the status quo. Dependent males maintain the status quo. That's why everybody loves a compliant, dependent male. He's not gonna buck the system. And that's all the more reason for as much pressure as possible to be applied. At the very least, such a male should not be allowed to pass his lazy, decrepit genes on. Because you are not going to build anything and you're not going to get anything done. Now, what I'm saying here tonight is that we are not the place that brings questions, we're the place that brings solutions. But it's only solutions if you're actually ready for it. I have spent years and years now hearing the whining and complaining and moaning, and on the 14th, just understand, on the 14th, is game on for the fellas who are ready. You always asked, where are those type of females at? Hey, let's get the questions out the way. Where are those females at? I know where they'll be. The real question is, where are the competent, productive men at now? Where are they at? And when it comes to the young fellas, you see, it used to be that when you were a male in your 20s, you were holding a bunch of jobs and getting knocked around in a bunch of places because you were trying to find your equilibrium so that you can make things pop off. These fellas in their 20s today, many of them, I'm not going to say half of them yet, but I am going to say at least a third of them, they're not spending their 20s, exploring the world and getting gamed up and becoming more competent and trying out new things to see what he can become good at so that he can make becoming a producer crack off. He's really trying to extend his adolescence indefinitely. Let me say that again. The reason why they become son husbands, he's attempting to suspend his adolescence or extend his adolescence indefinitely. Indefinitely. Understand, I'm explaining to you what Gail King's end game is, but I'm also explaining to you all what the whiny boys' end game is. Their goal is simple. They want to remain adolescents for the remainder of their days, or at least as long as they can last. This is how you got males in their 40s and 50s with an Xbox controller. What the hell are you producing with an Xbox controller? I'm just telling y'all right now, I'd feel weird with one in my hands. I'd feel weird with that. What the hell am I doing almost 50 with a gaming controller? I feel weird. Yeah, that was one thing when I was a teenager, but I got bigger, better, more expensive, productive gadgets to hang my hands on. What am I doing here? I just feel weird with that. And if you don't like the fact that I said that, you might want to take a look in the mirror here. It's one thing if you just show up with it once in a blue moon, but you fellas come in for those of you who got a job, first order of business is turn on the Xbox and here comes this cavalcade of colors and sounds at you. I'm like, man, how old are you again? Okay, let me try this a different way. When you are a grown ass man sitting on the couch with a 10 or 12-year-old kid and the both of y'all are engaging in the same activity as peers, something's wrong, dude. Ain't no way in the hell you gonna be able to argue your way out of that. If I come home and I see you sitting on the couch with a 10 or a 12-year-old and the both of you are engaging in a similar activity on the same level as peers, something wrong. Something wrong. I see a grown-ass man playing pickup basketball with a bunch of little kids every day. Something wrong. Something wrong. I see a grown-ass woman doing double dutch with a bunch of little girls every day. Every day. Something wrong. How you got time for that? If you're a productive individual, how the hell you got time for what the hell's going undone that allows you to have that kind of time? Yeah, you ain't gonna like it when I say it like that because now you got to explain a few things and it only makes sense if you and that child are peers. I ain't peers with no kid. Yeah, kid, here's your Xbox controller. That's the level you're at. You play Gran Turismo. I drive Gran Turismo. We ain't the same. We ain't the same. But grown-ass men, there's a bunch of dudes here in the internet age, and you are triggered as hell. You didn't like what I just said. Yeah, because I'm reading your mail. I'm reading your mail. Dudes in their 40s and 50s. And sitting here going head-to-head with children. No wonder the rest of his life's a train wreck. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933, your personal access code to the program that all your favorite YouTubers, red pillars, ass port bros, and other assorted failures love to hate watch. Because it dissects their lives. This is the place that all of them got the game from. And you will get it from there as well. So go ahead and give us a call. Also, we're going to go ahead and turn on Zoom. Remember, I do give priority to Zoom. So if you want to join us there, you definitely can. You can do that as well. I'll go ahead and throw the link up here in the chat room. By the way, while we're at it here, big shout out to Jay Freeman Blackman. Thank you very much for the 2-dub. Thank you very much there, brother. We appreciate that as well. And Dion Coleman, proudly married to an athletic, attractive, submissive, and cooking black woman for 20 years. That's what it's about. But you see, manhood got to be on point for that. That's not something other folk can give you. It's got to be on point for that. It's got to be on point for that. And if that's not who you are and that's not where you're at, whining will ensue. Whining will ensue. Whining will ensue. Let me go ahead and post this in the chat room here. Okay, let me get that off. All right, I pinned the Zoom to the top of the super chat. So definitely, if you are on Zoom and you want to join us, just remember that gets priority if you're on Zoom. Thank you again to Jay Freeman Blackman. Thank you very much for that. And like I say here, I appreciate you all contributing here on YouTube. Please keep in mind that YouTube keeps 1/3. They keep over 30% of every dollar that you send. So for everyone who sends in, if you send $100, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But if you send $100, then YouTube is going to keep $30 of that. So definitely please be aware you have other options, PayPal, Cash App, those are available as well. If you call in, if you're in over Zoom, let's be very clear. If you're in over Zoom there, you need to make sure you turn your cameras and stuff on. Zoom is not for voice chat. If you want to chat by voice, call the telephone number on the screen. If you want to chat by voice, call the phone number on the screen. If you want to be on Zoom, you'll get priority, but Zoom is not for voice only. Gonna have some more details coming up here shortly. So I want to make sure that you all are aware of that as well. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because after all this time, you've heard folks sit up here and whine and complain and moan. I'm letting y'all know right now, I've got about a dozen females under the age of 30, and about half of those are under the age of 25. And they're going to be taking part in this event. They're going to be taking part in this meetup here. So for all these folks telling you that they didn't know and they didn't see, I'm talking about for less than the price of a plane ticket to Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic or whatever other slum they want to go visiting. By the way, we've kind of put the lie to that. Maybe there's a reason these chicks don't want to fool with you. Maybe there's a reason for that. Could that be? Could it be that they've heard or seen something they didn't like? And maybe they're going to see it again. Because when a chick moves from one city to another, or move from one state to another, that's because she doesn't want folk knowing where she came from. She got something to hide. Well, I'm just saying, fellas, it really doesn't hold up. It really, really doesn't. Are you sure the problem is with the females? Are you sure the issue may just be your masculinity is not on point? But then again, you already know that. All right, let's go ahead and grab a few phone calls here. Let me get caller from area code 281. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Prince out of Richmond, Texas.
All right, Prince out of Richmond. What's on your mind?
Well, complaining is an emotional response, and when you whine, and that's not masculine. That's a weak tone, And what the young woman was cooking, doing a good job, but she didn't do any talking. But you got grown men complaining about somebody that didn't say a word. All her communication was in her actions, and they got something to complain about with that. See, the problem they have, Jason, when you made the call, the young women responded. See, you were able to motivate women in a way that an incompetent man cannot. And that's the threat. So the dig is at you. They meaning to try to throw a monkey wrench in, to try to interfere with what you're doing. You're able to call men and women to action, and that's a good thing. I want to ask you a question. Do you think a man can be competent if he refuses to do manual labor?
No, I don't see how, because what you are doing is you are making it clear that in your mind and in your daily behavior, there is not enough of a distinction between you and the females. Females are supposed to carry children, so by definition, biologically, they're supposed to be more protective of themselves because they're more fragile. And infants and babies are definitely fragile. So biologically speaking, it makes sense that she would avoid that. For a grown male, right, you're supposed to be more daring because you're supposed to be more danger-facing. That's the difference. A male is supposed to be more danger-facing. He's supposed to be more danger-confronting. I don't see how you can, and you don't learn how to confront danger and deal with those things on a one-time basis. You got to keep going at it. It takes practice. It takes practice. It takes repeat exposure. It takes all those things. So no, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to trust you to be competent. You're not going to convince me that you encountered something one time and all of a sudden you got it mastered. It doesn't work that way. Furthermore, you're not going to convince me that your manhood has integrity and you are not desirous to prove yourself. That's the problem.
So the last thing I want to say is, so money is not a substitution for a man putting his hands in to do work.
No, income, you may become a professional alpha, but that's all that you'll be. That's the problem. There's another group of fellas out here who they want it just made easy for them there, and that's not the way that works. That's not the way that works. It's not going to be some panacea. Being a man is hard.
Yes.
Being a man is hard. Being a competent male, man, that's a luxury good. Having a competent male is a luxury product. It's got to be designer driven. It has to be handcrafted and molded over the course of decades. You see, your parents lay the building blocks. Then we got to put you out here in the world so you can walk through the fires.
Yes, sir.
We got to put you out here so we can prove whether those building blocks were solid or not. The world's going to have experiences for you that your parents simply cannot give you. And now we're going to see how well you hold up. We're going to see how well you deal with getting knocked on your back and how quickly do you get up, or will you get up at all? And when you do get up, it's kind of like the fight game. Ronda Rousey is a good example of that. Ronda Rousey, she was the toughest little thing out there. She was mauling chicks. She was talking trash. She was completely unpersonable. Then she got herself knocked smooth, slapped the hell out. Bop, down she goes, and that's it. And I saw it, and I was like, when she sat up there and fought Nunez said, oh, no, she's not the same. She's not going to be able to do it because she's scared. And sure enough, when she walked back out there the next time, she wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting to keep from getting hit again. So what that tells you is that knockout changed the way she saw everything. After all those years of judo and practice and tournaments and becoming a champion, at the end of the day, she wasn't built to withstand catastrophic failure. The heart wasn't there. The desire to overcome that wasn't there. Now you take Francis Ngannou. There's a man here, he came back from losses. I'm talking about everybody and their mama. I don't know who the hell was crazy enough to think that Stipe Miocic was going to beat the man twice. I'm sitting there telling everybody I know, this is not the same Francis that Stipe fought the first time. This is a totally different man. And walked out there and laid him smooth, slapped the hell out. So what I'm saying is a tale of two people here. How you handle defeat, how you handle those things, is a whole difference. So you're supposed to prepare your children. Hopefully you've prepared them for that environment and that possibility. The world gonna test them. The world's gonna be like, oh, I ain't your mama. And what you realize is your ability to lose is unlimited. Your ability to lose, the threshold of what you can lose is really unlimited. It's really unlimited. That's the problem. And once you realize your ability to lose is unlimited, then you realize that your ability to gain, that's going to be tough. Tough. What do you do? What do you do under those circumstances? That's the one thing to remember here. What do you do? Are you built for that? We're going to find out. You see, coddling your sons is deadly. It's deadly to coddle your sons. They need to know what it's like and how much they can really lose. And if you've got them believing that what they can lose is very limited, if you're a parent who believes what they can lose is unlimited, then you're going to prepare them for unlimited. But you start coddling them, and then what they believe is, well, the world going to treat me like my parents do.
So you have to teach them to cope with failure?
That's a huge priority. Everybody knows how to deal with success. Success requires no training to deal with. Everybody and their mama knows how to deal with success. What they don't know how to deal with is failure. Okay, Sam Battle, if you want to be on Zoom, you cannot just be audio only on Zoom. Thank you. I'll let you have the last word, Prince.
Well, Jason, thank you for what you're doing, because you're moving in a way that you're stirring up the pot and you're doing the right thing. A man has to be, a man that is on his mission and on his grind, he's going to have failures. So sometimes you're not going to have money. You're going to have to do the work yourself. If there's a disaster, you can't call a plumber. You have to be able to do that yourself. Your woman can't look at you and you looking at her like, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me go ahead and get Sam Battle up here on Zoom. You're on live with The Business, brother. What's on your mind? Okay, Sam, you are muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
We can now. What's on your mind?
I got this setup going. Can you hear me? We can now.
Okay, brother, you are slowing down the program. What is on your mind?
Okay, I think I can't really hear you through Zoom. I can hear you through YouTube and not Zoom. It might be my fault.
It is your fault, I assure you. But what's on your mind?
Okay, I apologize. If you can still hear me from here, I'll just kind of go into what I wanted to say, and I'll kind of just go into what I wanted to say and kind of hop off, because I can't hear you through my Zoom. I'm hearing you through YouTube. But I just was going to basically talk about how a lot of these things that I go into with people who are 50K, a lot of men talk about how they're good at making 50K a year and how women should accept them at 50K a year. There's certain channels that I follow that I'm kind of battling with people about this, because as men, we should always be going up the rung and the ladder in our economic lives. No matter what position, if you want to grow 50-50 or not, you should always be on the economic climb. So a lot of times I would tell them that, you should be in your 20s, you should be maybe, making 50K in your 20s is okay. But once you start going further from that in your 30s, you should be pushing forward towards management, being a supervisor, towards being an independent contractor or owning your own business. And at that point, you should kind of go for in your 40s. I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of stop from there because I can't hear you at all. So, and I don't want to mess up your broadcast.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a call here. And you make good points about that. The only issue I would have with it is, $50,000 a year is going to be very, very challenging for somebody in their 20s to do. That's going to be challenging. However, if you have a skill, that's going to be a whole lot easier. But you don't get a skill if you don't have direction. You don't get a skill if you don't have direction, but furthermore, you don't get a skill if you don't have desire. So certainly in today's environment, 50K, that's a starting point. And to any guy out there who is still looking to sit up here and hide behind your mama's skirt in the year 2023, let's be very, very clear. Take a look at the house your grandfather and your father bought. That ain't going to cut it today. That's not even a house you would want to live in today. What was good enough for them is not good enough today. Take a look at the car they were driving. It's not going to cut it today. It's not going to cut it today. I also want to make it very, very clear for you here. The government's not really subsidizing these dudes. These dudes are living with their mamas and living with some chick or living with some relative or whatever. And just understand that eventually runs out with horrific consequences. That eventually runs out with terrible consequences. Nobody's got a problem letting their damn daughter live with them till she's 25, 27, 30. With the sons, that you're not going to get the same runway. if they attempt to give that to you, just understand at some point the bill is going to come due, and the bill is going to be catastrophic. The bill is going to be catastrophic because the world doesn't have any use for an unproductive man. The world doesn't have any use for an unproductive man. You're taking a look at your mama and your aunties and trying to compare your circumstances and your situation and what you can expect to them. It doesn't work that way. Caller from area code 910. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason. This Hustle Man out of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay. Hustle Man out of Greensboro. What's on your mind?
Yeah, you are completely right about these young men not having any skills to do anything. I mean, if you just have the simple mechanic skill, you can make easy money out here. For example, I was coming out of Walmart and a older lady was sitting there with a grandson, and he had a battery. He had to be about 20, and he didn't know how to install it. So I said, okay, ma'am, I'll do it for you. I go to grab the battery terminal on inside the car, and I look at this dude, he's wincing like, oh, it's about to spark. Is it gonna spark? Am I gonna get shot? I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, you're scared to change the battery because you think you're gonna get shot?
Well, let's be clear. Let's be clear about a couple of things here, though, because there are some key elements that are missing. If you'll remember, for those of us who are in our 40s and 50s, that the Republicans went to town removing all of the innovations that Eisenhower put in the public schools. You don't have shop class anymore. You don't have machining. You know, after World War II, you didn't have, America was being industrialized, but you really had a bunch of kids from the country and from rural areas coming to the cities. They didn't have those more advanced skill sets. Germany, after World War I, went to work making sure everybody had that. So when Eisenhower realized, hey, we got a big deficit behind the Germans, we may have won the war, but they're more technologically advanced and we got to get that together. That's when you have the revamping of the American school system. Here you come with the skilled trades. Here you come with home economics for the females. So you dealt with a population that didn't have that, and you had a government that went to work making sure it didn't matter what your parents knew or what your parents did not know. We're going to get you up to speed in the school system. Now you had a school system that works. Now you get to the late 80s. Now the Republicans want to cut schools. They don't want to cut the defense budget. So $100 hammer, that's cool. Shop class, and we don't need that. So next thing you know, here goes, drafting. Here goes woodworking. Here goes pipe trades. Here goes machine. All of a sudden, they don't have that. Now you combine that with the government. Hey, boy, I found lines of connection here. So on the one side, you got the right-wingers taking stuff out of the schools. On the other side, you have the left-wingers weaponizing single motherhood and subsidizing it and saying, you know what, as long as y'all get the men out of the home, 2 thumbs up. So you getting it from both directions. And now you have neutralized the males as a real force. Now, you don't want to neutralize all of them. That's not what you want to do. But what you do want to do is neutralize enough of them so that you don't have the Watts riots and things like that continuing. And the bad news is they found out, oops, that didn't go very well. But just understand what the idea was. And you want to make enough of them unproductive and dependent so that they're harmless. And now you've cut down the ratio of individuals who can challenge your authority by a tremendous extent. But those two things together, a school system that doesn't teach it and fathers who are not there, equals sons who are looking at a battery the same way you would look at the space shuttle.
Yeah, thank you for explaining. I didn't think about it that way, but still, there's still other avenues that they can go through. Like, you can easily YouTube video on how to repair a battery.
Yes, you can.
Replace a battery. So
yes, you can if you own a car. You see, you're probably like me. How old are you?
I'm 37.
Okay. Well, okay, you're not as old as I am, but you understand. You probably came up like me. Your first car was a beater. Hell, your first few cars might have been. But that's good for a young male. You don't want to give a young male a brand new $75,000 car. No, you give him this little beat up thing over here that costs you $1,500, and he's got to sit up here and work on it every other week. So he's got to sit up here and learn the basics. So now he knows how to maintain a car. Now he does two things. He learns how to maintain it, and he also learns how to appreciate something better. And that's the way you get them to work their way up. So he gets used to the battery because you bought him a $1,500 car. Probably going to have to replace that battery within the first year. So he needs to know about black, negative, red, positive. If he's got to replace the alternator, yikes, disconnect the battery so you don't shock yourself back there either. And the starter while you're at it. Or if you have a starter that's going out and the bushings start to go out in it and you beat on the side of it and it lets the car get started. Had a few of those.
Oh, I remember doing that.
Had a few of those. And that's how you learn. Also, when he has his first engine go out, start to recognize the signs of engine failure. Smoke out of the tailpipes. Less compression from the oil. Difficult starting or difficulty getting up to speed. Knocking. Those are things that allow him to learn. And after a decade of that, he's ready to take care of anything you put him behind the wheel of, plus his female. So now he's ready. As I said, competent men are a luxury good that has to be built over the course of years. Over the course of years. So you see, if he's been sitting back and his mama's done made him her wife. Oh, did I say that? Because so many of y'all out here talking about son husbands, because y'all got that from the red pill high value wing. Are they really son husbands or are they son wives and mama is the husband? So he's sitting there looking at her like the wife. She doesn't, as I said earlier in the program, she don't know what to do and he doesn't know what to do. They're both equally clueless. He's never gone through this process before, so you got the boy out there and his grandmama. He has no damn idea. But the other issue is because them women who were sitting with him there that you saw, they've been coddling him and insulating him from learning. They have never put it in his hands with an expectation. They never did that. They never did that. Now he's a grown man or on his way with no real idea how this machine that they're depending on works. And he doesn't see it as his responsibility to maintain it on any level. He just sees it as his responsibility to ride, but he doesn't see it as his responsibility to maintain it. And that's a deadly situation to be in. Now, you imagine, and your biological instinctive senses are telling you, if I put my daughter in his hands, how does this end? Most likely, not very well. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, you're right. I have a daughter, and I would not let her bring a man home like that. But the last thing I gotta say is that the sister that was cooking is one thing that I noticed. She was using a wooden spoon and a nonstick pan in a nonstick pan. What I see a lot of women doing, they're using a metal spatula on a nonstick surface, which just eats right through it. So that's another plus point on her side, and that's all I got to say.
Well, dude, like I say, on the 14th, they're going to be available here. I got a bunch of fellas who signed up. We still got some room left. I've got some more details I'm going to give before the program is over here. So, like I say, if you're ready, we ready. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 701. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Nettie Speaks calling from Fargo, North Dakota.
All right, Nettie Speaks from Fargo. What's on your mind?
Oh, man. Well, just listening to this whole broadcast and thinking about, just kind of how the week has played out, I kind of wanted to come up and talk about this guy that I'm working with who has his girlfriend as the assistant manager up at the job. So they work together. They're both ex-convicts. They were involved in some stuff. So they got some messy stuff going on. So I understand why they cling to each other, why they have each other close. But I just been talking to my guy, and I'm trying to push him in the right direction, because I've been following you for I think about 6 months now. So I've been, trying to follow the path, and you started saying things that I had just picked up on recently, and I was like, dang, okay, I'm on the right path. And I just dig in and I try to find as much as I can from you. But this is one of those guys who, like we were talking about, the 7 million men who ain't at work. This guy works at the job with us, but he never wants to come into work. Now, his girlfriend, who's the assistant manager, she's there, has to come and open, then has to come back and close and fill up for people's hours. And it's like whenever he's there, he expects her to be there to comfort him, or else he kind of has like a fit. And then it's like whenever she's there, then if he's like, he's got the day off because the general manager tries to schedule them apart. But if he doesn't work that day, he'll come in and check on her. He came up to the job twice today.
And he's
but
a
didn't
felon?
show up for his own shift after the fact.
And
I'm sorry,
you say he's done that and he's a felon?
Yeah. And he keeps talking about how he don't want to go back. But I'm just like, man, you're not moving like you like being free.
So he's got a job. He's a felon. He's bird dogging this chick to the point that he's sitting up here, mommy, may I, at the damn job.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing up for her shift and ain't showing up for his.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, dude. But all I can say is I hope he doesn't have kids with her. But even if he does, he's basically the third or fourth. However many kids she got, he's the next one. He's the last one.
Man.
So what she did was she found some little weak. This is what females today tend to do, unfortunately. And for the ladies out there who are like, boy, where the men at? Just y'all better go find this chick and smack her up, because there's plenty of them out there. She is willing to coddle and infantilize a grown man because she knows that her value is low, because what you haven't said is what she looked like and what she smells like and what she moves like. Now, that's what you didn't say. Okay. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, even numbers only, what ranking would we as men give her?
Oh, man. I'll probably say a 6, because, like, she's got a nice shape, but she's pretty heavy. She's got a cute face, but, her hair is natural, and she doesn't necessarily, do the extra mile, if you know what I mean.
You're grading her on the curve right there. You say she's a 6, but she heavy. Whoa. 6s ain't heavy, bro.
But she's shapely, though. She got a real nice shape, though. I'll say that much.
No, 6s ain't heavy. We need to stop that. That thick thing where we say thick is like a block of cheese. No, thick. No. A 6 ain't heavy. A 6 ain't heavy. No, there's no such thing as a heavy 6. Well, Jason, she a 6. Right. I mean, she can fit some size 14 pants, but she a 6. No. No. So let's go ahead and give her this. Let's go ahead and give this 4 and keep on that. That's why she got convict life. So if you're a chick who's a 4, convict. So she's here with dude. Facts. And because this also tells me she over 30, gotta be. And so don't know if she got any kids. She probably does. But regardless.
Surprisingly, actually, I think she's about 28, 29, no kids.
I'm pretty sure she got a couple of abortions under her belt. Pretty sure there's a couple of abortions on that belt. You end up with a dude like this.
But she has that record too, though,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, I know it's 2 peas in a pod, but what I'm saying is that, at least she could be at least she could be a felon who say, I ain't fooling with felons no more. The last time I got jammed up, I'm through with that. She's not doing that. Most likely she was dealing with another felon when she got jammed up. Now her record is messed up like his. And instead of her saying, man, look here, I got a new lease on life, let me put that behind me, she is instead saying, well, lead me to the next grungy degenerate I can get. And in reality, that's just her expressing where she is in life. That's her expressing where she is. Now, how many tattoos she got?
I haven't seen any. None that are visible.
None that are visible. I guarantee they're there. Does he have tattoos?
No, I don't think so. But I will say she has like a kind of like an overbite thing going on. She's got something with her teeth.
Oh, like Michelle Obama?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Well, definitely, like I say, it's one of those things there, bro, where, and I'm not trying to demean anybody about it, but she's demeaning herself. She's demeaning herself.
Facts.
So
that's facts.
With that being the situation, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, really, I'm trying to. I mean, I don't think there's any hope, but if I can, I want to see if I can try to talk some sense into my boy, because he seems to be really attached to me. But whenever I'm around, he behaves. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's moving like a man, talking like a man. But as soon as I leave the building, I come back the next day and they're like, oh, he was just eating on the job, walking off, leaving the water running, just being just absent, talking on the phone.
Listen to me, young man. How old is this cat?
I would say he's about 28, 29. Or no, he's 24. He's younger than me. He's 24.
Bro, there's not a bunch of molding you can do with a 24-year-old, man. There's not a bunch you can do with that. You know, his parents have broken him. He's just this sad sack shuffling around out here. He's already got clipped by the system once. And you say he's got a felony. The real question is how many he's got.
He didn't say, but when we've had conversations, he makes it sound like he's had a hell of a record. He said, I'm tired of getting locked up.
And remember, 3 strikes you in. Remember, 3 strikes you're in. So, like I'm saying, bro, he's 24 years old. If he's already got 2 strikes, you know, like I say, if things haven't worked out for him and he doesn't have a lot of motivation, and you also got to understand how little bummy, dusty dudes work. The way in which their minds work and the way in which their thoughts work is, man, let me get a few dollars to rub together. If he's got a drug habit, God help you. Let me get a little weed, and I got something built like Lizzo to lay up with, and that's it. You have just maxed out his aspirations. You just maxed him out. You're trying to motivate him. Him.
Yeah.
So that's just the thing right there. You got to motivate him. That's a problem.
For sure.
That's a problem. So for you, man, I don't think that's going to be here's my issue. My issue is I'm concerned about what's going to happen when that chick finally gets tired of him.
It sounds like she's getting there, because every time I'm around him, he's complaining about, like, when she's at the job, she laughs at other dudes' jokes, and she's just so, like, kiki and so social with everybody. But with him, it's just like, oh. And I'm just sitting here looking at him like, dude, you don't like yourself. You told me you can't be alone in a room by yourself. So why are you upset and surprised that she's kind of annoyed with you? Like, you got to reflect a little bit, you know? You got to look at you.
Well, if he could. But at this point right now, he doesn't have a lot of motivation to be able to do so. And what I'm saying is what you're telling him are not things he doesn't know. These are things he does know.
That's true.
You got to understand that there is a difference between a technical skill gap and an emotional skill gap. You can give a person many things in this world, but how can you give them desire? If he's okay with being a felon with some bibbity-bobbity chick and just shuffling his way through life, if he is okay being a laughingstock, if the obvious lack of respect from his peers, not his woman, from his peers. If the lack of respect that he sees from the other men isn't whooping his behind bad enough, there's the problem. You see, what makes us, women are a motivation, but that's not a drive. Competitiveness, men are supposed to be at their most competitive around other men. Because you see, that's where survival is at stake, but not just survival status. You become a leader of men by demonstrating that you are the strongest, the smartest, the most capable, the most clever, the most creative, the most courageous. You see, that's how you raise your status as a man. That's the only way to raise it, is in competition with other men. And to demonstrate and show right out of the gate that when it's time to compete, you're not the guy running in the other direction. Other people are looking at him. You are looking at him. None of you see a leader. And thus he's on your job whining and moaning and complaining. But what he's not doing is saying, here is my record of achievement. It's like, for him, here's my record of offenses, but it's not a record of achievement. So that's why he's sitting there upset with her. Because you see, your mama, and this brings us 720 degrees, your mama, see, your mama will sit there and hug you and pat you on the back and keep feeding you even if you're not producing, even if you're not competent, because you are the incompetent boob that she created. So she sees your incompetence and she feels about your incompetence differently than the rest of the world. Because she made it. It's kind of like a man with a woman's stretch marks. If she got them stretch, I don't care if she got stretch marks to go all the way up to her shoulder blades. If she got them with your kids, then you kind of feel differently about this. It's like, okay, this ain't looking so great, but that was kid number 1, so kid number 2, okay, I got it. So you feel different. The next man shows up, he's like, oh, laser treatment. Hold on, baby. No cocoa butter? None? Just no cocoa butter at all? Nothing?
Oh, my soul.
We ain't doing anything? Okay. So you feel differently about it. You're like, hey. And then what's she going to tell you? Well, my baby daddy didn't have a problem with it. That's them nigga kids. Yeah, of course. He did it. Of course he's cool with this. He's the one who caused this fiasco. Of course.
Right.
So when your
and the
son
girl that
is
I
incompetent,
did date once with kids, that's what she did. Went right back.
Well, I mean, like I say, she got to be in her weight, so tiptoe your ass back over there. Anyway. But my point is, when you got, when you have a male who's not producing, the women don't see these. My mama's okay with it, dude. Look here, this joke writes itself. The next sentence that you're going to hear writes itself when you say that. So your mama is okay with your lack of productivity because your mother's not looking for you to produce for her. There's where the disconnect comes from. Your mama was supposed to be teaching you and grooming you and preparing you to produce. Because you see, that's the difference between your wife and your mother. Your mother produced for you. Your wife is expecting you to produce for her. You're incapable of doing that. Therefore, all you are is a chick with no ovaries. That's what you are.
Big facts.
You another broad.
You're a transformer.
You're a broad with no ovaries and no breasts, or maybe you do. But that's it. All you are is just another chick. You're a chick with a beard. Yeah. You're a chick with hairy legs, or maybe not. But you're another broad.
Robots.
Well, my point is, you're another. As far as she's concerned, the more time she spends around you, there's so little distinction between the two of you. She starts feeling like you another chick, and we all know how females deal with other females. They get catty. That's why a man has to have distinct masculinity about him. Otherwise, females start developing natural contempt. She feels like she's in the presence of another chick. She feels like she's in the presence of another chick. That's the issue.
And you know what females do? They want to compete with each other. So she's just trying to get a one-up on you. Now she's trying to figure out how to finesse you. Like, how can I outdo this mug? You know what I mean? And that's what it seems like with their relationship. It's very competitive, and he just doing a lot of crying. She just getting her bag and following me around. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, definitely, like I say, bro, I wouldn't be giving a lot of attention to it there, because it's not that these are things he doesn't know. These are things that he's unmotivated by. He's not motivated by this.
Right.
And you can't give a grown man, you got to recognize he might be younger than you, but he ain't no kid. You can't give a grown man motivation. I've taught you all this. When they're little kids, we can teach them. When they're grown, we just instruct them. And from here on in, it's just going to be consequences if you don't comply. But you're not going to be able to sit up here and do a bunch of grooming at this point right now, especially as long as he got a female. You see, when them females leave him destitute, none of them want to fool with him, and he just gets tired of it, and life is so bummy and raggedy, he's just sitting there screaming, I can't take it no more. Now it can be some changes. But until then, bruh, you lecturing him, it's not going to have the effect you think it is. You're not really mentoring him, not because your heart's in the wrong place, but because he doesn't want it and he's got people enabling him. So anything you tell him, they're undoing it. They're undoing it. Mm-hmm. That chick should have been like, Negro, don't you ever come to that job again looking for me. Unless you look on the news and there's a hostage situation. Don't ever come up here doing that. So she's not doing that. She's enabling it. She's coddling it. And the fact that he would even need to be told, that's a bad sign right there that he would even need to be told. So if I'm you, bro, it's just like, just sit back and, hope the fireworks don't hit while you're there. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get a caller from area code 804. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live. What is your name? Where you calling from?
Okay. This is Cassie again from Henrico, Virginia.
Hello, Cassie from Henrico. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to tell you this story. Back when I was younger, there was a lady named Miss Burke, and her husband was killed by a tractor trailer, and he left her with 6 sons. 6 sons now. And Miss Burke was this tiny little woman who, every time you see her, she was cooking all this stuff. But when her husband died, she didn't take no mess off them. Nobody knew that woman was as powerful as she was. Them boys grew up, and they were some fine men. I mean, fine. They had all the tools and all of the requirements that any decent woman would want. So I don't know, and that was all through, like, I'm 64, and that was all through. These women didn't take mess off their sons. Their sons cut the grass, did the things that they were supposed to do. Now, where this generation went wrong, these generation of women went wrong, I don't know. I have no clue, because they never grew up like that. Our community was never like that. A man was a man and a woman was a woman. But if a woman had to step in, she treated her sons like the men that they should be. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, definitely it helps. I mean, understand something. Whiny males are not born. They are built. So if the mother is, keeping a strong hand with them, it can prevent that from occurring. But generally speaking, women don't do very good with raising boys by themselves. But if she's strong enough to do that, yeah, it can happen. But it's rare.
Well,
it's rare. Thank you very much for giving us a call. It's rare because to build a man, you got to put him in danger. To build a man, you have to put him in danger. So that can be difficult to do, to sit up here and have your boys and to teach them that. Generally speaking, like I say, it's anathema to female nature there, because females don't generally put themselves in harm's way. And I'm not saying going out and daring other people and doing dumb things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in the course of natural events, a man is supposed to be taking risks. That's how you raise males who, when opportunity is presented to them, he's not sitting back, ooh, what do I do? What do I do? When opportunity is presented to him. Because you don't know where opportunity is going to be. You remember, I'm from the state of Louisiana. There's a lot of opportunity in oil and natural gas. A lot of money made at that. Everything is not going to be some desk job, but when you have males and you've taught them to protect themselves, help. The most dangerous thing a female can do as a mother is have your son sitting up here focusing on hairstyles. A male who prioritizes hairstyles is never going to be worried. He's going to be constantly terrified of chipping a nail, getting his shoes dirty. He's going to constantly be worried about that. He will not be singularly focused on his productivity. He will be instead focused on how he looks. Never mind the fact that how he looks in no way influences or enhances his value in the company of other men. That's how you end up with a fella. He's got cute footwear. He's got a little cute little dainty hairstyle, and he makes $36,000 a year. Show of hands in the chat room emojis. How many of you have been to Walmart or Target and you've seen some little dude who works there? Boy, he's got on nice little tennis shoes. Might even have a color coordinated shirt with it there. Nice little tennis shoes, little starched jeans running around while he's stocking the shelves. Give me the hand up emoji in the chat room if you've seen that fella. Give me the hand up emoji in the chat room if you've been walking through Walmart and you see them fellas. You can tell he's stocking the shelves, he's pushing the carts. Squeaky clean little shoes, little starch pants, skinny jeans, little multicolored hairstyle. Got his hair in twists. Working at Walmart, working at Target, working at Best Buy. How do you think that gets started? How do you think that goes on? What do you think is the catalyst for that? How do you think that begins? Well, it begins by sitting up here and saying, oh, well, let's go ahead and coddle him. Oh, he looks cute like that. No, don't let my baby get his hands dirty. Don't let him endure any hardship. Don't do any of that. Okay, then he goes looking for little cute, easy things to do. Then he doesn't have any emotional fortitude. He doesn't have any ability to handle rejection. He doesn't have any ability to handle deficiency. He doesn't have any ability to handle shortcomings, to rebuild anything. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. He doesn't know how. Next thing you know, your gene pool is destroyed. Because the males are supposed to come in and take over a leadership position going forward. This will take over a leadership position going forward. But he can't lead if he's constantly terrified of failure. He cannot lead if he will not bleed. Leaders have to bleed. Leaders have to be first in line and prepared to do that. Leaders have to look at hardship and say, this is it. Sometimes bleeding is the cost of progress. Sometimes bleeding is the cost of progress. But if you've conditioned your sons to think they should never have to do that, when you spent your time as the mother protecting them from that, the message you're sending them is you are always to be coddled. Then when you, the mother, are no longer available, somebody wants to put their daughter in your son's hands, he's competing with the daughter for which one of them needs to be more coddled and which one needs to be more protected. Let me tell you something. Working at a job is stressful. Working at a job is stressful. It's stressful just working at a job. There is stress just getting to work. There is stress at that. Don't you know that there is enough stress at a job to break your dude if he's a little old sissified, little weak mama's boy? Don't you know there's enough? Y'all have seen it for all your damn lives. Anybody who's worked at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, or whatever, turnover is high. It's not even for physical labor. Man, they want me to work another hour this week. I don't want to do that then. Man, they want me working the cash register today. Man, why they want me to go ahead and unload this truck? I'm leaving. I spent my whole life. Let me tell y'all something. That's the mama's boy mantra. That's the mama's boy slogan. I don't need this job. I'm leaving. Nigga, where you going? He's going back home to his mama. 27, 28, 30, 32, 35 years old. How many of y'all have seen that fella? How many of y'all have seen that fella? Give me the double hands up emoji if y'all have seen that fella and worked with that fella before. You sitting there at the job and he's been there for only 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks. I'm leaving. Man, forget you right here, man. I'm leaving. Where he going? Back home to his mama. He doesn't hold a job more than 30 days. He doesn't even hold. This is how you know the government's not paying for them. They don't hold their jobs long enough to get unemployment. He hasn't been working at the job long enough to get unemployment. How's the government going to pay for anything? Every time you turn up, he got a new job. Or doesn't. Brittany, you said you dated that fella. I hope life has gotten better for you, ma'am. Or is that Brittany Renner? Caller from area code 336. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Rainbow. I'm calling from Baltimore, Maryland.
Hello, Rainbow from Baltimore. What's on your mind?
I was required to call up. I asked if it was assumed that women over 30 without children automatically had abortions. That was my question in the comments.
No, ma'am. It's not assumed that if you're over the age of 30 that you had abortions. If you're over the age of 30 and you are a felon and the guy that you're with is a felon and you're at a job where you're enabling the felon to be a mama's boy, it's pretty good risk. There's a very good chance that you fit the profile.
Absolutely.
And that I was literally having that discussion about that type of woman there. So nobody said just being over the age of 30, ma'am. So how you ended up dismissing literally everything else you heard and zeroing in on just that part right there, it tells me there's been a couple of scalpels in your life. Would you like to get something off your chest here so you can feel better?
No, thank you.
Okay,
I'm an avid listener, so
okay. Has there ever been a semi-shady medical professional who you've gone to go see and he had a vacuum cleaner in one hand and bad intentions in the other about your pregnancy? Is there something you would like to? I want to give you the opportunity to cleanse your conscience. Nothing,
Jason. I don't have anything.
All right. Well, if you ever feel like saying something, let me know. Just go ahead and say something.
I guess I'll call it. I guess
when she feels a little more daring, I guess you can go ahead and give us a call back for that. When she feels a little bit more daring, we'll give her a chance to do that. That can be a tough one. I heard pangs of guilt is what I heard in there. I heard slight twinges and pangs of guilt. So I feel like she's been through some things and she's dealing with some things and she's almost to a point where she want to say it, but she don't want to say it. And she's struggling with it. She's struggling with it. All right. What? I'm just saying. In any case here, going forward here, fellas, let me tell you, it's a badass look. The complaining, the whining. There's a reason. And let's be very, very clear about this for the most part. These fellas out here who keep talking about they're going to go to some mystical, mythical, magical Shangri-La. Most of you ain't got passports and can't exit out the country like that to begin with. So it sounds silly. And even for those of you who do, you ain't got nothing. Running from manhood and running from responsibility, and all that really ends up happening is you become a damn joke. And that's the other part of it here. These fellas, as they get older, they just build these huge enclaves of other failed males. These guys are not getting in their 50s and 60s surrounded by beautiful women. They're getting in their 50s and 60s and becoming the male counterparts of their failed deadbeat mamas. They're becoming the golden boys. It's not like they're getting in their 50s and 60s and chicks are living a whole better life and man, they got upgraded and she's got new skill sets and everything's where it's supposed to be. It's like, dude, if they're around you, they're in the same condition on day 3,000 that they were on day 1. Nothing new, nothing changed, nothing upgraded, nothing, period. So it's not like you're threatening somebody with, what you gonna lose? I ain't around and they're not gonna lose anything. That's the problem. They're not going to lose anything. If you are really capable of developing anything, it would have happened a long time ago. That's the problem. That can upset you, and I'm perfectly fine if it does. But just understand, the worst thing that you can do with a male who is not progressing or a male who is not producing is give him a chick to lay up with, because now he can deceive himself into believing he's winning. If a failed male has a female and a video game console, he's going to sit up here and tell himself he's winning. He's going to tell himself he's winning. Because his whole life is spent in a closet. His whole life is spent in a closet. Don't you understand? He doesn't have anybody he's got to sit up here and quantify that to. Okay, Roland, you need to point your phone down a little bit more. We can barely see the top of your head, sir. Lord, don't tell me we got another one sitting here fighting with their phone. Roland. Point your phone down some, sir. Yes, he's working on it. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, Roland is trying to get his life together over here.
All right. Wait, hold on. Am I online?
Yes, sir. You're on live.
Damn, that's crazy. All right. So, just like you're saying, like, what was you saying just like a second ago?
Roland.
Like, no, I'm saying, like, what was you saying, like, just a second ago?
Roland. Dude.
What?
How old are you, Roland?
I'm too old to be doing this, but clearly. I'm asking you,
Roland, like, how much weed have you smoked this evening?
Man.
Be honest. Be honest.
Way too much.
Clearly.
No, I'm trying to get back on the conversation and on track of what we were talking about earlier on.
Okay, so Roland, do you work? Does your girlfriend have a felony, and do you have a felony, and do you work with a fella in Florida? I'm just asking. Do you work at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Roland? Any of those places ring a bell? I was just talking about that.
I shop there.
Okay.
When I want to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Roland, are we trying to get our life together, Roland? Is that what we're trying to do?
Not really. My life is pretty much together. So
your life is pretty much together now, brother. You need a lint roller for that shirt. Are you sure your life is together?
Wait, hold on. Do I pay bills? Do I pay for the mortgage? Do I pay for the
First of all, that name Roland is very ironic because we all know about my good friend Roland Martin. But the other thing, brother, I'm just saying here, dude, I don't know when laundry day is. I don't know if laundry day is a thing.
I would say laundry is okay.
What do you say? No, laundry is iffy. Roland, I'm trying to help you here. Laundry is iffy. It's iffy.
No, it don't sound like you're helping me.
Brother, I'm trying. I'm trying desperately right now. So I'm just saying, we got some things to get together.
Oh, what's the problem with me?
Okay, Roland, I'm just, you don't sound focused. You sound inebriated. You didn't even know what you wanted to talk about when you got on the phone.
I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I'm asking you, is like, what was you talking about? And
okay, brother. Okay, what was it that I said that you called in? What was it that I said that you called in a comment on? What was it?
You said what?
What was it that I said that prompted you to call me?
Well, if you say it again, and I'll tell you.
So in other words, as I said, you don't even know why you're calling. Oh, and then he puts the phone right up in his mouth, y'all. This is like one of those weird psychedelic music videos from the 80s and the first days of MTV. I don't know what to do.
Oh, no. Well, listen. All right, so if you want to start a new topic, then we can start a new topic. But honestly, like, I came in here trying to contribute to what you were saying. Honestly, I forgot. I really did.
Roland.
I asked you. I was like, "Yo, what was you talking about just earlier?" Because like that intrigued me to call you, and that's why I did that. So I asked you, like, you know, like what was you saying before? So, you know, if you want to play me, well, I say you can play me and put me to the dogs. That's okay with me. I'm okay.
Okay. And Roland, have I cut you off while you were talking?
No, you haven't.
Okay.
You haven't.
So who's trying to play you exactly?
That's, well, what was you talking about before?
Okay.
You know, like we went into a whole other conversation before what the topic was. And I asked you, you know, your topic intrigued me to call you and what you was talking about, and that's why I called.
Okay, Roland, I don't know why you called in. I don't. So maybe if you give it some time, it'll come back to you.
That's fine. Well, what do you want me to start the topic? A different
Lord,
topic,
I'm scared to
conversation.
You want to start a different topic. Well, what is the different topic you want to start, Roland?
Hey, did you know?
Okay, stop moving the camera around so much, sir.
Well, I walk around the house a lot.
Okay, well, let's sit down or something.
Did you know that?
Probably not.
The sun is a star. So when you look at the sun as a star, and then you look at everything above and beyond when it's a night and whatever, you're looking at the stars. All of that, they're suns.
Roland, how old are you?
Shit. I don't really want to expose that.
Okay. Roland, where's your wife?
My wife is in Jamaica right now.
I agree. And where are you?
Not going to expose that, but
okay.
I'm at home.
Are you in a halfway house, Roland?
Well,
do you have an ankle monitor, Roland?
I don't know, but
okay.
Hey, so
that sounded about right there. So, Roland, what I want for you to do is I want you to get some echinacea tea.
Some medicine.
I want you to get some tea. No more pharmaceuticals for you. No, you've done enough pharmaceuticals tonight. No more pharmaceuticals for you. So you need to get no. You need to get some tea and some vineger. Let's be careful.
Some vinegar.
Some tea.
What?
And some...
Yo, that's sour.
Like, no. Don't drink the vinegar like a 40 ounce. Don't do that. You want to get a couple tablespoons of vinegar. You want to put that with your tea. You want to put that with some honey, and you want to drink about a gallon of water, and that's going to help clean you out. Okay, and
if I was really messed up, you know, like what you saying is like that's
Roland. But before you make the tea, okay, Roland, calm down. Calm down. You're triggered. You're triggered, Roland. You're triggered. Calm down. And before you make the tea, get the Pillsbury Dough people who put that croissant do-rag on your head. See if you can pry it off, because I have never seen a do-rag that looked like them cinnamon twists around somebody's head. So I don't know it looks like a diaper, wherever you got it from, or somebody's pantyhose just rolled up. Wherever you got it from, get it off of there, bruh. You look bad tonight.
Well, shit, if I look bad, I feel like I look good. So that's your own opinion.
Okay, brother. All right. It's not an opinion. This is an anatomical fact here. All right, come pull up to the buffet, ladies. Roland is young, single, ready to mingle. His wife has let him out off of his leash. Straight to YouTube Shorts. Straight to YouTube Shorts. Let me get caller from area code 407. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Yakina calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
All right, Jack from Atlanta, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hey, you're nailing it tonight. You know, I listen to your show on a regular, and this topic is on point. There's so many weak brothers out there. It's because of their mothers, you know, enabling them, no fathers around. And they seem to think they have the answers. They don't want guidance, so they kind of take it on themselves to thinking they're doing the right things, but actually, with no guidance, they're actually destroying their lives. And not only that there's, you know, the women that they're dating. And what I can't understand is who's giving these men opportunity. I mean, because it's just messing up the community more.
Well, I mean, you got to understand this is the culmination of several decades here. So you've got, as I explained earlier, you got a government. This has been the result of government policy. The government has subsidized it because, you know, and this goes back, really, I have to remind everybody about the statement from the railroad magnate Jay Gould back in the 1800s. He was one of the railroad pioneers in America. Of course, he didn't want to pay anybody, and he certainly didn't want to, you know, observe labor regulations or anything like that. And he famously said, I can pay half the poor to kill the other half. Understand, that's something that governments remember. Well, we can empower half the people. Instead of us going up against them, we can empower half the people to be a stumbling block to the other half. To be an obstacle and an albatross on the other half. Remember, governments are not worried about other governments. They're worried about their people. They're worried about a people who demand something different, because the people who demand something different are inevitably going to start dealing with that government. And in America, it's more complicated because you have an armed citizenry. So your ability to abuse and do certain things is not quite what it is otherwise. That's the difference. That's the difference. So now, after all these decades, what they promised the females was you'll be in charge. But the females who wanted to be in charge were the women that nobody wanted. So those chicks put a bug in the ear of everybody else. Next thing you know, now you're all just out here losing. Which they were perfectly fine with.
True that.
Gloria Steinem was not any man's choice even back in the 60s. Neither were the rest of them. They were no man's prime choice. Just like Tarana Burke today. Tarana Burke can afford to spoil the landscape. She's nobody's prime choice, so you know what she says? I'll be damned. If I can't have a producer, damn it, none of us getting one. And you can see she's been on a suicide mission ever since. Ever since.
Yeah, right.
I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, right. That's, well, it's just unfortunate because our community is suffering big time. And, you know, me growing up, I grew up in the 60s because I'm 59. And it's different. And difference today, I got two sons. It's just the opposite of what I'm seeing here with the young men today. You know, there's just no structure there. So I just hope one day, you know, maybe we can get it together. But I truly don't see that happening. As long as we're staying on the same road and the direction that we're going on, it's destructive. That's all I have to say. Hey, thanks.
Well, don't worry about everyone else getting it together. You make sure that you have yours together, because undisciplined people, I posted this earlier today on Facebook, Undisciplined people, unstable people always, always, always self-destruct. 100% of the time. It ends the same way every single time. You never met an unstable person who ended up It doesn't work that way. If they're unstable, this always 100% of the time ends badly. Your job is to make sure you're not near them. Your children make sure that somebody with some sense and stability is around, because you're always going to have unstable people. What you want to have are stable people now asserting themselves. That's the element that's missing. The stable have not been asserting themselves, and you have a demonic government that's been asserting the unstable. The stable assert themselves, the unstable are on the run. It's simple math. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me see on Zoom. David, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
All right, David, what's on your mind?
Sure. David calling from Dallas, Texas, and appreciate you, Jason, for the work that you do. Just a quick question, and I'll take my answer off air. I agree with you. There is a lot of whining, a lot of complaining, and I have to admit that I've participated in some of that. What is the role of mentorship for those of us who are lacking in that kind of male leadership, who want to do better, who want to progress? What's the role of mentorship? How do we find access, get mentors so that we can take our work and ourselves to the next level?
Well, first of all, here is the best place to be starting, because I'm the only place that actually talks about it in concrete terms. I don't talk about it as an abstract. If you ask me a question, I will give you a specific prognosis and diagnosis that deals with your specific instance. From there, the rest of you just need to take the ball and run with it. Robert Greene said something here. Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power, which I recommend to everybody, everyone. But Robert Greene said that the whole point of having a mentor is to eventually leave him. That's the whole point. The whole point of entering into somebody's mentorship is not to have a lifetime mentor. The entire point of entering to their mentorship is to leave. So the goal shouldn't be to find a second daddy or a second mama. The goal should be to patch together the holes in your understanding, and then you get out there and make it work. I've had a number of people that I've learned from in my life. I haven't really had anybody that I would consider to be a mentor. So when I had gaps in my understanding, what I did was address the specific gaps. Where do you start? Starting right where I am. First and foremost, start with your vocabulary. Second and foremost, okay, your money-making ability. We got to start with drive. That's why whenever I talk to you all, when people ask me, well, Jason, what's the first thing I need to do? You need to tell me specifically where you want to be, not vaguely, not generally. I need to have a number. Tell me the specific amount of income that you want to make every year. Not, I want to make more. I want to make money. I want to be good. I want to be set. I want to be stable. You're not saying anything. Right. You need to tell me what is the number, and then now we're making this a real thing. We're framing it exactly where it needs to be, and now we can start talking about how you're going to get there. But you can't get there being vague. You're going to have to be specific. Now that you are specific about where you want to go, now we can start saying, okay, well, there's only a certain number of paths you can take to get there. Choose one. And then we go from there. Everything else is going to be on the job training. So if I can get you to make the decision that you don't want to be rolling, or you don't want to be struggling, whatever, if I can get you to make that decision, make that choice, now everything else is going to come together.
Sure. Well, I'm at 90. I want to get to 180, trying to double that income, sort of using that formula. I got a dissertation I want to turn into a book. So those are the kinds of things I'm personally looking at and trying to sort of associate with more people who are thinking like that. So again, shout out to you and for the work that you do.
Well, you'll know when you're ready to do those things, primarily when you become an expert at something. Okay. There's the real issue, is that most of these fellows out here, they may earn a good income, but they're not excellent. And that's where things really go off the rails. If you're not Mr. Call Me First, you're not leading. If you're just one among a pack, you're not leading. Men by definition are supposed to want to be standout. They're supposed to want to be that. But that can be a daunting task, because people who stand out tend to, I get to be the focus of competition. But you're not going to be able to lead, trailblaze, or have anybody take you as a source or authority if you don't. So the other part I would tell you there is we need men and black men in particular to get past the point of, well, my income is good. Well, good income is nice and everything, but that's a start. That's a start. That's the financial. What about the creative and the technical? What about the physical? What about the intellectual and the social? You need to have it in balance. It's not just, well, my money's good, so I'm good. No, this is a multi-leg stool. It needs to have balance. It's got to have balance. Otherwise, you're just a trick and a simp, and other folk are going to take advantage of it because you've got one leg together and you figure that's going to insulate you, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. So I would say that that's where you want to begin at. Having a specific mentor is nice, but truth be told, and I've met these people, as you know, Don Peebles, one of the richest black men on the planet. And he said, if I get one phone call, I get a dozen a week from some young male who says, I want you to be my mentor. And he's like, well, if I could, I would. But if I extended myself to that, I would be consumed with that. I literally would not have time for anything else. So the men who, quote unquote, can do that, they don't have the time to do that. Literally. Well, Jason, what do you do then? How am I going to learn? You don't have the time. Stop looking for a mama. How you learn is how I learned. You get out here, you pick a direction. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid. I don't want to do it if I'm not going to. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to look dumb. Don't be afraid to fail. Because you're learning. You're learning what doesn't work. Okay, don't go down that road again. That's a dead end. You're learning. If you're sitting up here trying to figure out how to have it given to you, if I get a mentor, they'll give it to me. All they can really do is give you the broad strokes anyway. You're not going. It's like any job you've had. You never learned the job in the classroom. They had their training time, and then they put you out there to go work. And that's where you learned how to do your job. You didn't learn how to do your job in training. You might have gotten familiar with a couple of their tools. You learned your job by doing. You will learn by doing. Get up, get out there, have absolutely no fear whatsoever. The worst that can happen is they tell you no. The worst that can happen is they say you're wrong. If things really get bad, the worst that can happen is they can fire you. They can't whoop your ass. They can't take your car. They can't burn down your house. The worst that can happen is they tell you no. That is it. And if you're not afraid of that, then there is no reason you can't learn anything, anywhere, anytime. You just have to make up your mind that you're going to do it. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. I think the only regrettable thing is that there are not more of you. I get what you're saying. Seeking a mentor is, not the end all. It's not a panacea.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. But the reason that there are not is because what generally happens is in a lot of cases, fellas are looking to just get good enough so they can ball out. As long as he's driving a nice car and got something with a slim waist and a cute face and a big ass, he's done.
Right.
So you're talking about an internal brain drain.
Right.
So with so many fellas out here making it so juvenile, their goals are very juvenile. They're not mature. And you're dealing with a world of other people who work as a group. So as men, particularly specifically as black men, what I've tried to do through my life and my example is I don't sit up here just talking a bunch of crap and a bunch of garbage, and I talk to other males. Okay, It's not I'm good, let me coast. It's I'm good, let me get the rest of y'all good to the extent that I can.
Right.
And if more fellows would simply do that, and you don't have to make $1 million. It doesn't require being a chancellor of a university. It doesn't require being the president and CEO of a corporation and whatnot like that. If you're a black male making $150,000 a year, you are literally doing better than 90%.
Right.
Hell, 95%.
Right.
You've got the ability to do that. The real thing is they don't do it because they're like, oh, well, it's not my problem anymore. Right up until these other societies move against us as a group.
Right.
Then it's like, man, where the rest of them at? Well, this is what taking care of you only does. It leaves you only. Bill Cosby learned that the hard way.
Right.
If he had spent the previous 35 years seeing to it, like doing like Bill Gates or something. Hey, I got to get Malcolm Jamal Warner and the rest of them. They got to be good. They got to be good. Then they would be in positions of, think about how many young people he could have put in executive positions. You know, we talking about Dana White and the rest of these corrupt people in these corporate American society. They got their people got their backs. These are folk they came up with. Remember, Stephen A. Smith, he sat there and said it. Well, you know, Dana White is a friend of mine. Right. And that Molly chick was sitting next to him, Molly Rose, whatever her name, she was married to Jalen Rose, I think it was. She's sitting there saying the same thing. Those are his people. Right. Those are the folk he helped get where they are. So now he's in a bind. You can't knock nobody in the head and pay him to go in on him. Mm-hmm. They got his back. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And all we can do is just over here and say, man, you see they got his bag over there with scandal. And they're like, yeah, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do? Yeah, we got his back. Okay, now what? We got it. Well, that's what we supposed to be on. Right there. That's what we're supposed to be on. And that's what I'm saying. If you get into a level of affluence, you are setting yourself up for suicide.
Mm. If it's solitary, you said, if you seeking that solitarily, that's suicide.
If you are by yourself and on your own, that's suicidal. Yeah. That's suicidal because nobody's got your back. It's just you. And when those people get ready to go in on you and they come for you, and they will at some point, you doing too much. You making too much. You're doing too big. Well, we're going to shut that down. They're always going to come after you. Now you're just by yourself. So I've tried my best to try to develop young men, old men, whatever. So if you really want the real secret of it there, it's just, certainly it'd be nice to have that. It would be great. But the reason that we don't is because as soon as fellas get good, they want to sit up here and say, well, I'm all right. Let me ball out and coast and cruise for the rest of my days. And it's all good until somebody comes for them. Yeah. The time to be dealing with that come for them is before, not after.
No, what I think that's really great. What I hear you saying is chase excellence, not success. Chase excellence, not success.
Yeah, I mean, excellence success is a byproduct of it.
Of the excellence.
These are byproducts. Sure. You become excellent. Everything else is a byproduct of it. You got to keep your eye on that. And then if you have a group of, it's been my experience when you have a group of excellent men, they tend to get together. I'm working with guys on this right now. Like I say, we got our truck drivers workshop, our IT workshop, and I've got fellas who are dealing with folks who make millions, and in a couple of cases, folks making billions of dollars. So definitely, if I saw somebody else doing what we do, I would point you in a different direction. The other folks out there dealing a lot of theory. There's schools and there's a couple of civic organizations, but I don't see any of them saying, call me back, check on me back on me in a year. Let's compare notes. And that doesn't happen. If they ever did, if there's somebody out there who's doing that and that's specifically what they're on and they got the results to show for it, I'll holler at them. Outside of that, no. But the real thing is, brother, if you want to be mentored, it's not so much about being mentored. It's about having fearlessness about learning. And if you are really just fearless about it, and you're like, I don't care if I look stupid, I don't care if I look dumb, I'm going to ask a bunch of dumb questions. Well, they're not dumb questions. You don't know. And if you're asking something really valuable, people are going to have a vested interest in keeping you from it. So get ready to do a lot of that. But if you are relentless, a relentless person can't be stopped. A relentless person is going to find a way, and if they can't find one, they're going to make one. You just have to decide that that's who you're going to be. And that whatever goal you want, that's what it's going to be, period. Yep. I'll let you have the last word.
No, Jason, I think you hit the nail right on the head. This is year 34 for me. So I'm staring at 35 and I'm trying to do, some of what we just talked about, pursuing that excellence, being fearless, running headlong into it. Again, like I kind of said, didn't have a lot of that male mentorship or male guidance. Right. And I think that's where, to your point, the kind of whininess, the kind of moodiness kind of comes from. It's coming from, being a black man in a world that is what I call the myth of white supremacy, because I don't think they were any more supreme than us. I just think it's the myth of white supremacy exists. It looms very large. The shadow was cast very wide. And so you're trying to negotiate that in light of a culture that's in love with death and destruction. And it can make you whine and moan and complain. But I'll say it again, I think we need more of these kinds of conversations, more people like yourself trying to pick out, pick winners, pick some winners and put that battery in their back and push forward, because we need that as a people.
Well,
so
remember, let me address that one thing there, because it would be remiss if I didn't say something here.
Sure.
Mike Tyson had a devastating uppercut. Not good, devastating.
Okay.
If he got that on you, it was lights out.
For sure.
Deontay Wilder, that Negro is walking around with a wrecking ball at the end of his arm. He doesn't need 5 rounds. He just needs one straight shot at you, and it's night out for you. I hope you got your CAT scan ready. You're going to need it.
Right.
It doesn't matter how hard you train. It doesn't matter how much you don't want to believe that Deontay Wilder's walking around with a wrecking ball on the end of his wrist. Your belief or comfortability in accepting that reality isn't going to change what he's got. How is it that Tyson Fury was able to beat him? Because Tyson Fury wasn't arguing with himself. He felt that damn thing once. He wasn't arguing with himself about what it was Deontay had.
Okay.
He wasn't arguing. We say it's white supremacy because arguing against it isn't going to make it less real. We don't have to like it. But if I'm unwilling to accept that Deontay's walking around with a damn sledgehammer on the ends of his fists. Ain't no sledgehammers. Ain't nobody got no sledgehammer over me. I got fists too. Okay, this is called denial. You walk out there with that attitude, he's gonna knock you dead.
Okay.
This isn't a matter of your self-esteem or your self-worth or your religion. This is the laws of physics.
Okay.
If I understand, you know what, as much as I don't want to say it, this guy hits way harder than me. Way harder. I will never be able to train hard enough, good enough to do what he does. If I do, it's going to take a lot longer than it took him. Remember, because literally he was driving with a beer truck or whatever, literally, and then got into boxing. Right. So he's got natural gifts. And I'm not comparing natural gifts to white supremacy. I am saying that the situation is what the situation is. You don't have enough years in your lifetime to overcome that as an individual. Once you accept the reality of where you are and where they are, now you can deal with it because you're being realistic about taking a realistic inventory of where you are and where they are. How are you going to remove somebody from a seat of power if you are unwilling to simply accept the reality he's in the seat of power right now? We all got to agree on that one reality. Hey, he's in the seat of power, which is why we got to get him off of it. He's able to do all these bad things. That's not your imagination. That's not your lack of faith that's allowing that to occur. That's physics. That's the consequences of the last 700 years of history, 1,000 if you want to be specific. Acknowledging that doesn't make you stupid, dumb, weak, or whatever. Refusing to do so might indicate it. It's no shame to acknowledge a simple reality because that's the first step to stopping it. Into any military, any fighter, any goal you have in life is to accept, hey, that's the opposition. There's no question that that's the opposition. Okay, what's the opposition's capability? Right now, total.
Yeah.
There's no part of the society that they don't run. Right. Now, that's not your lack of belief, low self-esteem. Ooh, if I just think about it differently. Man, this is physics. They run everything. And if they were running everything in a just fashion, this wouldn't be a question. We would just be out here doing what we do, and that'd be the end of that. But they're not. And that's the reality. Why do y'all have a problem with the system? You want to change the names and make all this disruption because you're not being just. If you were, I'd still be working for Verizon. But you're not. So therefore, we've told you over and over again, and you made it very clear, you're not going to change your ways. So you got to get dealt with. Now, if we made the decision that that's got to get dealt with, great. What are we dealing with? You're dealing with an opponent that controls every aspect of your society. If you refuse to acknowledge that or accept that, how you gonna win anything? What are you trying to win if you will not acknowledge the obvious, the overwhelming, the irrefutable? So Evander Holyfield didn't get out there and try to slug it out with Mike Tyson. He was dipping and dabbing the whole fight. James Buster Douglas cracked the code. Hey, take this dude past 6 rounds. It's over. Holyfield came in and perfected it. After that, Tyson couldn't win nothing anymore. But they had to have respect and acknowledge what he was capable of. Deontay Wilder, everybody else wanted to get out there. Oh, he's just a brawler. I'm going to out-brawl him. Okay, good luck on that. Tyson Fury was the only one who said, yeah, I got knocked down, not really knocked out once. That was enough for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to acknowledge if I get out here and try to slug it out with this man, he's going to murderize me. Mm-hmm. Greatest example ever. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran.
Okay.
Duran got in his head. He's sitting up here flirting and mocking your wife. And Sugar Ray is like, I'm the greatest boxer in the world. I'm going to lay this dude out. And that's what Roberto wanted. You're a great fighter, but there's nobody who can out-brawl Roberto Duran. You're not, if you make it a slugfest, you cannot outslug him. He came from the streets. You will not outslug him. And what the hell happened when Sugar Ray tried it? Sugar Ray's a better boxer, sure, but you got to acknowledge what this other man can do. This is physics. Your belief or lack of wanting to acknowledge it is not going to change what Roberto Duran's hands can do. Mm-hmm. Once he had the first fight, it's like, yeah, my belief system is not really relevant here. Rematch, he said, yeah, we ain't brawling nothing. We fighting. We're not brawling anything. Historic, made Roberto Duran, of all people, never thought I would see it, of all people, say no mas. What you're saying is you broke that man's spirit. Mm-hmm. In the middle of a fight, you broke his spirit. But you didn't get there by denying his abilities. Do you understand? He got there specifically by acknowledging it. That it doesn't matter how great a fighter I am, I cannot out-brawl him. Mm-hmm. He's got the brawl game on lock. I can win, but I got to put my pride to the side. Sugar Ray wanted to go out there and knock his head into the 20th row. That's what he wanted to do. You know, sit up here and mock my woman and everything in front of the game. That was what Sugar Ray wanted to do. He wanted to do a Tyson on him, but that's not going to work against this guy. Not like that, it won't. And if you make your goal, well, I'm just as good as them, you're denying reality. So what I'm saying is if we're going to go to war, we have to acknowledge where we really are. We got women and children and the next generation depending on us to be competent and realistic. We win nothing by sitting up here denying physics and mathematics. Them dudes is in the driver's seat. They've been very corrupt on the throne for a very long time. What's the plan? Get them off that throne. But I can't get them off of it if I want to acknowledge he's even on it. And don't you know white supremacy loves that? Yeah, ain't no throne. Ain't no white supremacy. I want you to understand this. Now, I know that's not the way you meant it. I'm going to wrap up by saying this. That's not the way you guys mean it, but don't y'all understand? That's exactly what Tucker Carlson says, and Fox News, and Tim Pool, and the late Rush Limbaugh, and any of the white supremacists you want to name. Ain't no white supremacy. You wrong. Ain't no white supremacy. Why do you all keep saying that? We're not supreme over anybody. You keep accusing us of white supremacy. There is no white supremacy. Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity have been saying that tonight. Right. That's a myth. That's a lie. There is no white supremacy. Now, if you're saying the same thing that they're saying, something is wrong. Mm-hmm. If you acknowledge that those guys are racist and you're saying the same thing they're saying, both of you are saying ain't no white supremacy, somebody's in a trick bag here. It's either you or it's them, but somebody's in a trick bag.
Yeah. I think maybe what I'm dealing with is language as a kind of psychic violence, not to get theoretical, but the language that we use is a sort of psychic violence, right? But I take everything that you're saying is absolutely correct. We got to acknowledge where we are and what we're up against before we can you got to know the enemy to be able to defeat an enemy. So I think that's correct.
I think it's a good place to start. In any case here, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get caller from area code 317. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Elijah calling from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hi, Elijah from Minneapolis. What's on your mind?
Man, you really talking the good stuff tonight, man. Like about manhood and just handling your business, man. Because I mean, talking about not the world doesn't have any use for unproductive males, man. It's just made me think about my brother, who's quite frank. I'm 36 years old, and he's older than me. And I mean, talk about unproductive. I mean, trying to get him out. I mean, he's been living with me for the last like 2 years, and just caught a DUI and everything else. And I don't know. It's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. You just kind of really spoke to my heart, man. And I just want to thank you for your program tonight, man.
Well, definitely, I want to thank you for, tuning in. And like I say, where your brother is concerned, it can be hard if it's a family member or something. I know y'all got that going on. And if it's a family member, everybody's not going to listen to you. Just because you may have been raised in the same household and everything, they took the situation a different way. Stimuli doesn't always strike siblings the same. So if they decided that, well, maybe I just keep my head low or whatever, you can't make somebody aspire to something. You can't make someone want a better life. You can tell them it's out there, but you can't make them want it. They got to want it for themselves.
Right.
And if they do, great. But if they don't, it gets ugly. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller from area code 630. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Nick from Chicago by way of Houston.
Nick from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, on the topic, I guess that's the new manhood for some guys, but just like myself, these guys will grow out of it. I got raised by a single mother, got raised by nothing but females, and I picked up some of those traits, working off through those. Just like no parent is perfect. That situation was particularly bad. Don't want to speak ill on my family, of course, but in that aspect, I mean, hey, I had to fight it off. Had to do what I needed to do to be productive, get myself right and everything, going through homelessness, just being whiny. Sometimes I might fall back into that, catch myself, and have to change it up. But it's possible to turn that around. And it's possible to turn it around without having even an example of another guy. Because something internal will turn on. At least that's my opinion. Something internal will say, something doesn't feel right around here. Something doesn't feel right to operate in, okay, I'm talking, and there's not a lot of action going on, and people are acting a certain way around where they pretty much will pat you on the head. I think that's where I think a lot of these guys are actually comfortable with it. I wasn't comfortable with it, so I had to fight myself off. I did a simple thought experiment when I had a concrete goal. I said, there's 24 hours in a day, 168 in a week. We sleep, average 8 hours. We clean ourselves, we eat, we travel a little bit. That leaves us about 92 to 96 hours in a week. I got 92 to 96 hours if I had 100% focus to get my act together. And when I did that, I went through 3 months of getting nearly 90 hours of just working. It wasn't the most productive, but that's how I snapped myself in. I went through 3 months, almost talked to nobody. I was a freaking hermit, almost no exercise or anything. It was very unhealthy. But that's how I snapped myself personally to get out of the funk that I was in. Because if I wasn't, it would have been self-destructive. I would have just been whiny. I probably would have went back into homelessness again and just went through this cycle. And then next thing I know, I'm a 45-year-old dude that I see these guys over here in Houston underneath the bridge. And they're saying, and I walk up and ask them a few questions, and they say, well, I just didn't have enough chances. And yes, white supremacy is there. But when you talk to them long enough, you'll start to figure out they just weren't even trying. And I didn't want to be that person. So to anybody that might be whiny listening to this now, and I'm going to tell you, I grew up with almost nothing but freaking females. I got nothing but sisters, no brothers. Grew up with mother, auntie, only guy around me was my uncle. And when I decided to stay away from the house, so I hung around male friends, but still nothing but females. If I can shake it off and become productive, then you, whoever that is listening to this that might want to complain at this, you can turn yourself around too and actually make something of yourself.
Well,
you got your own place.
It's great and it's wonderful if you have those things in home. It really, really is. If you don't, it can throw you for a loop for the rest of your days. So I will never discount the value of having it. However, you said something I've told people a bunch of times before. It doesn't matter how great your parents are. There will always be gaps in your understanding. There will always be gaps in your training. Because, all they can do is prepare you. The environment is always shifting. If you had kids 20 years ago, they didn't have smartphones. Now they got those things running around in their pockets the whole time. It can be a great convenience, but it can also be a big problem. The other thing is, as you're training them and you want them, even if you want them to be better people, sometimes folks coddle their kids too much. Sometimes they're there too much. So it can be a balancing act. It's not like, making a turkey where you can tell if you're overdoing it or not. It's not a black and white, scenario or formula. Raising kids is not a formula. So the bottom line is you just have to accept that there's always going to be problems. Now, hopefully it's not, proceeding to the point of damn me drug addicts and other assorted nonsense. But once you accept that, then you realize, hey, I'm going to be responsible, no matter how well they might do it starting it, you're going to be responsible for finishing it. You're going to be responsible for being a finished product. Hopefully they're preparing you to emotionally and psychologically be able to take going into the world. You're going to have to go out there and prove your mettle at it. At some point, you're going to be responsible for taking this thing up in the air and making it fly. It might not be the shiniest, most technologically advanced machine, but you're going to be responsible at some point for doing that. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get called from area code 773. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, good evening, Jason. This is Chick out of Chicago.
Chick out of Chicago, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yes, what's on your mind?
Yes, I was listening to your broadcast this evening, and it's a wonderful subject. Manhood training, you spoke on that. That is a very relevant thing. I look at these young cats, and sometimes I do what I can to help them. I had a neighbor. He had a girlfriend and a baby. And he was walking around. I was in the parking lot, getting ready to get in my car. He was walking around his car with a quart of oil. And he ultimately asked me, where does this go? I thought I was going to pass out. I said, you've got a car and you don't know how to put oil in it? And so I raised the hood. I told him that I showed him it goes in the crankcase. And this has to have a minimum of 4 quarts of oil in it. You check the oil and make sure that it's at this line. That's when cars had dipsticks in them. They don't have them anymore. And
90 seconds.
Manhood training is important. My father, he was a bricklayer. And me and my brothers, we had that trade skill before we got out of middle school. And I was listening to you as you said that you had all kinds of jobs. I'm sure I could match you job for job. And
60
one of the programs
seconds.
that we would have liked to have instituted before Mayor Daley shut us down on December 4th, 1969. I was at that last Panther meeting and was to help those boys who were in the gang, because I left the Blackstone Rangers to join the Black Panthers because the Stones were going in one direction and my mind was in another one. And manhood training, my father he also showed me and my brothers what to do for a car. So, I can take a car apart and
10 seconds.
go in the number one jet in the carburetor and come out the tailpipe. Because he had us do things to that 1959 Roadmaster. I taught my son. My daughter picked it up better, how to work on cars. And
well, the good part about that is now she can appreciate it. Because the real thing is, if you have daughters and stuff, they should be able to watch and should be able to see it at least. Hopefully, you can get them up there to learn it, because all my nieces know at least how to do some light repair on things. And that's a good place for them to start, because a female is going to take a look at that and she's going to say, now, I'll be damned. If I know how to change the oil on this car, she's not really going to be tolerating a fella in her presence who doesn't know. If she doesn't know, it makes it a whole lot easier. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller area code 940. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're on live. What is your name?
Hello?
Where are you calling from?
My name, this is Scarfo Kimura. I'm calling from Caesar's Palace in Vegas.
Okay, Scarfo, what's on your mind?
This is a good topic about that whining. I think that kid who got beat up by those 5 cops, you remember when they first grabbed him, he was doing nothing but a bunch of whining. Talking about, oh, you're hurting me and stuff.
Okay.
And you're doing too much.
Scarfo.
And blah, blah, blah.
Okay, Scarfo, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all. Not even a little bit. Take the night off while you still can. Caller from area code 306. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, me? Hello?
Negro. What is your area code? Okay, I think that must have been Roland calling in. Yeah, I think that was old Roland. Yeah, buddy, Roland is doing his thing there. Roland's doing his thing there. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here before they start doing more of that. And that is not what we want. It's late. Dudes are doing the most. All right. For those of you who are unaware here, we are working on our event. Whiny Boys, please, will not be applying. After tonight, those of you who have signed up to be a part of our meetup here on Valentine's Day, we're going to go ahead and we are going to have you all start making your payments on that. So you can go ahead and be involved with it. Definitely, if you haven't, like I say, I think this is going to be very, very much something you're going to want to be a part of. If you are alone this year with a non-quality female, all I'm going to say is you got coming to you what you got coming to you. That's all I can say. If it happens, you earned it. That's all I can tell you. So definitely, for those of you who signed up for that, you want to go ahead and do that. For those of you who want to get in, I'm going to stop taking submissions for it here. I'm going to stop taking them this Tuesday. So the 7th will be the last day. So for those of you who want to hang out to the last minute, the 7th will be the last day. I won't be taking any more after that. So after the 7th, we won't be taking any more. Everybody's got to be done and completed and signed up by then. I will be in the place on the 14th. This will not be on YouTube. This will not be on Patreon. I say again, this will not be on YouTube. This will not be on Patreon. So for those of you who want to be a part of it here, you want to go ahead and sign up for that. If you are a man, you want to email us with the subject line, Valentine's Day Made Man. And we just need to get your name, and then I'll be contacting you so we can verify proof of income. And another couple of things there for the females. Valentine's Day Ladies Looking. That's what you put in the subject line. Valentine's Day Ladies Looking. If I haven't gotten back to you, don't worry. I'm going to. Everybody's going to get an email from me, get their information. If you're a female, you just submit your name, your age, whether you have any kids, do you want a side chick position, can you cook, and you want to have a photograph of yourself from head to toe and a video wearing the same thing you were wearing in the photograph, and you can just say, hello, Jason, I'm ready for the business. So I went through that once here. You can just replay this if you want the rules for that. You do that, and we'll make sure everything else is taken care of here. So everybody needs to be done here by the 7th. This is going to be a heck of an event. You have never seen this many grown females in their early 20s, no kids, cute face, slim waist, cooks great, all in one position, in one situation like this since you've been in college, and back then them chicks wasn't worth nothing anyway. So we've done a lot in this regard here. Got a few of my favorites are going to be taking part. A few of my favorites are going to be a part of this. So if you miss out on this, you deserve the predictable discomfort that you will be enjoying here and suffering through for the rest of this year and next year. So definitely go ahead and check that out. I want to thank all of you here for joining us here tonight. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat. Thank you very much. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business, or your business will handle you.